Chapter 151. The Infernal Army. A thought flickered through Zhan's mind. The 5 infernal undead took flight, soaring higher and higher, heading deep into the Bermuda Triangle. Undead vision activated. Instantly, the perspective of the 5 infernal undead flooded Zhan's mind. Before long, the entire Bermuda Triangle was within his grasp. Scattered across the numerous islands were infernal grunts. But it was the sight on the largest island in the center that truly shocked Zhan. On a vast clearing, a massive formation of infernal grunts stood in neat rows, resembling a well-disciplined army. At a glance, there seemed to be over 1,000 of them. Standing before each squad was a larger and more powerful infernal, presumably an elite infernal. At the very front of the army, an infernal sat on a jet-black chair, a black battle axe resting beside it. This infernal's appearance was completely different from the grunts. 2 demonic horns protruded from its head, and its face was as abyssal as the deepest trenches, radiating dominance. Behind it, a long tail swished back and forth. Clearly, this was the most powerful being present, a valiant infernal. At that moment, the valiant infernal was speaking in a strange tongue, seemingly drilling the infernal army. Just as Zhan was trying to get a closer look, the valiant infernal abruptly stood up and gazed towards the infernal undead in the sky. Zhan's heart skipped a beat. He immediately ordered them to return. But it was too late. The infernal's eyes suddenly shot out 2 beams of black light. With a deafening boom, the infernal undead in the air instantly exploded, leaving not even a speck of dust behind. Helion, watching the direction of the explosion, twitched his nose, a hint of solemnity flashing in his eyes. The scent of death permeated the air. He grabbed his battle axe and roared at the infernal army. Ayo yo 11 die. In an instant, the entire infernal army roared in unison. Ayo yo 11 die. Ayo yo 11 die. Ayo yo 11 die. Ayo yo 11 die meant battle in the demonic tongue. Interesting. In the distance, Zhan watched the 4 returning infernal undead, a faint smile playing on his lips. It was just one undead. Its destruction was no big deal. But that valiant infernal seemed even stronger than the valiant dragon, presenting a slightly bigger challenge. Even at this distance, he could still hear that thunderous roar. Although he didn't understand the words, he could feel the intense battle intent. You 3, finished eating? If you are, hurry up and follow me. The feast is about to begin. Zhan shouted towards his rear. A war, a war, a war. Roar, roar, roar. Woof, woof, woof. The ape, tiger, and dog responded, tossing aside the remaining scraps of corpses. Zhan hopped back onto the great sage's shoulders and said to the tiger and dog, "You too, get up here." Then, he took out his staff. He activated the swift breath skill, increasing the great sage's speed by 50%. He activated the adamantine body skill, boosting the great sage's physique by 30%. He activated the guardian shield skill, creating a protective shield around the great sage's massive body. In just 1 minute, Zhan had stacked a multitude of buffs on the gorilla, making it at least twice as powerful. After putting away his staff, he took out Blood Lament. He pointed his sword forward and shouted, "Charge!" Feeling the terrifying power within its body, the great sage roared in excitement, went full throttle, and charged forward. Along the way, it completely disregarded everything. Trees? Smashed to pieces. Water? Ran across it without sinking. Small hills? Violently broken through. Violence and brutality. This feeling made the great sage feel ecstatic. Its wails echoed all the way. A-woo, 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 a-woo. 10 minutes later, on the island where the infernal army had gathered, a massive body descended from the sky with a resounding boom, shaking the entire island. Helion looked at the massive figure. Of course, its gaze focused on the shoulders, where a tiny human sat, a faint smile on his face. A gorilla, a tiger, a dog, and a human. The human seemed the weakest and smallest, but it was the one it feared the most. Oh, woo! The great sage roared to the sky after landing, beating its chest. Beside it, the great king and Old Black quickly jumped down from the great sage's body. They were almost shaken to vomiting. Woof woof, great monkey, you've gone crazy. Roar roar, Yeah, little great sage. You were jumping too high. A woo, tiger brother. Are you feeling unwell? Sorry. What is that little dog barking about? Woof woof. Call me Dog Lord, little monkey. You have a death wish. Zhan's head throbbed as he listened to the roars of the three mutated beasts. The tiger and dog's voices were already enough to bear, but now there was also a gorilla. This life was unbearable. All of you, shut up. Can't you see where we are? Zhan jumped down from the great sage's shoulders and yelled. The three mutated beasts finally reacted and looked ahead. They saw thousands of infernals pointing their weapons at them, their battle intent sky-high. In an instant, the three mutated beasts hid behind Zhan's tiny body, trembling. It was too terrifying. They could accept a dozen or so infernals, but thousands of them could drown them in spit. Why did Zhan bring them to such a place for a feast? It was too scary. Was this definitely not delivering them as food? Just then, the largest infernal in the front flapped its wings and flew to the very front of the army, facing Zhan directly. I am Hellion, the infernal general. If I'm not mistaken, you should be Zhan, the spokesperson of death. Zhan was somewhat surprised. He didn't expect this infernal to speak the human language. What? Did it want to chat? Zhan didn't answer, just stood there quietly, looking at it. Seeing that the other party dared to ignore it, Hellion felt a surge of anger, but he forcibly suppressed it and continued. Lord Demon King once said that the undead sovereign has some connection with them. The demon race is different from other races and doesn't have such a prejudice against death. We can cooperate. I believe this is a situation that the undead sovereign would like to see. Hellion paused, but found that the other party still didn't react at all. The anger in his heart rose even more. Ignorant fool. The gods, fate, immortals, elves, dragons, spirits. More than 90% of the myriad races are hostile to death. Do you want to stand against all races alone? Where is the undead sovereign? Let him issue a divine decree. Zhan raised his eyebrows and finally reacted slightly. He had never heard of the fate, immortal, and spirit races, which surprised him. Chapter 152. The Undead Infernal Warlord. Seeing that the other party was somewhat interested, Hellion thought he was about to speak and waited for a full minute. But still there was no sound. In an instant, Hellion understood everything. This human had no intention of talking to him at all. He was just watching him perform. He was a clown. Ga Li Jia. Hellion was furious, and two black rays of light suddenly burst out from his eyes, rushing towards Zhan. Zhan's staff instantly appeared in his hand and swiped in front of him. The next second, a transparent shield appeared directly in front of him. Mirror Reflect Shield skill. The two black rays hit the shield directly, and a strange thing happened. The ray actually reflected back directly and hit the infernal army. With a boom, two infernals were shot and exploded, dying on the spot. Aoyo 11 die. Hullion's eyes released killing intent, raising his battle axe above his head and roaring. In an instant, the infernal army roared, raising the halberds in their hands, and black rays of light were emitted from them at the same time, like a rain of black light. That scene. The three mutated beasts' faces turned pale, and they trembled. If they were hit, they would probably be shot full of holes. Facing the rain of black light like arrows, Zhan was not flustered at all and said calmly, "You think you're the only one with minions?" Zhan waved his hand, and in an instant, 26 dragons appeared in front of him, forming a solid dragon shield, without leaving a gap. Although these dragon undead were not suitable for combat, they were perfect as meat shields. Bang 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 bang. All the rays hit the dragon corpses. As for Zhan in the back, not a single one could shoot over. The three mutated beasts also became energetic. Their faces were no longer pale, their bodies no longer trembling, and their eyes became sharp. Woof woof, that's it. Roar roar, with Zhan, there are no surprises. Awoo, Zhan is so awesome. That group of ugly things isn't worth mentioning. 5 seconds later. The first round of light rain had been completely blocked, but there were too many, and the dragon undead were also severely damaged. 5 of them had their heads completely blown off, and the others were also damaged. 3 or 4 more rounds and all the dragons could really be destroyed. Of course, these infernals couldn't have no cooldown time, and Lu Zhan wouldn't give them a chance. A dark figure slowly appeared beside him. Go, number 1. See how many you can kill in 1 minute. In the next instant, the black-armored figure rushed forward, so fast that only a black afterimage was left in the air. Hulian's expression was solemn, so fast, but he was not at all empty-handed, and the battle axe slashed at the black afterimage. With a boom, the battle axe hit the empty ground. Hulian's heart tightened. What's going on? Where's the black-armored figure? Where's his infernal army? Where is this? You 3 take care of yourselves. If you can't do it, just stay behind, don't push yourselves. After locking the infernal general into the undead space, Lu Zhan took out Blood Lament. After finishing speaking, he jumped up and rushed into the infernal army, closely following the black figure. There was only 1 minute, of course. The more he killed, the better. Boom, boom, boom. For a time, terrifying energy erupted everywhere in the infernal army. Lu Zhan and number 1, with 1 sword and 1 axe, could take the lives of a large number of infernal grunts with almost every blow. It was truly a fierce tiger entering a flock of sheep. After putting on the black dragon armor, number 1 was truly transformed into a black-armored god of war. Even without using his full strength, his combat power was terrifying. Naturally, the infernal army could not allow Lu Zhan and the 2 to slaughter them. Soon, several elite infernals flew over and launched attacks on Lu Zhan and number 1. But so what if they were elite? For Lu Zhan, it was just the difference between cutting with 1 sword and cutting with 2 swords. As for number 1, it was even simpler. Augmented with the power of the dragon, 1 axe had already killed an elite infernal. Ding! Congratulations on killing the elite infernal warlord, obtaining experience points. Infernal grunt, infernal warlord, infernal general. The names of these 3 levels of the infernal race were finally collected. As a result, just after killing 3 infernal warlords, an angry roar resounded through the sky. 1 minute was up. The infernal general Hellion finally reappeared on the battlefield. As soon as Hellion appeared, he saw the infernal corpses all over the ground, and the anger in his heart was conceivable. He roared again. In an instant, all infernals began to glow red. They became stronger and more violent. At the same time, Hellion himself quickly rushed to the black-armored warrior. The speed at which this guy killed was too fast. He had to curb the other party. Lu Zhan's heart moved. Number 1 flapped his wings and flew straight to the sky. Hellion naturally flapped his wings without hesitation and chased after him. Of course, number 1 was not trying to escape. After flying to a certain height, he stopped directly and pointed his axe at Hellion. How could the dignified infernal general endure such blatant provocation? Boom! In an instant, the 2 axes in the air collided directly together, and the terrifying energy exploded, like thunder, shaking the sky. On the ground, Lu Zhan didn't care about the battle above. It was he who asked number 1 to lure the infernal general into the air to fight. Then, Lu Zhan's eyes gleamed. The infernals he had just killed stood up one after another. As long as the infernal general was not around, he could kill all the infernals, no matter how many there were. The thing an undead mage fears the least is fighting in groups. Lu Zhan glanced at the 3 infernal warlord undead, whose attributes were more than twice as high as those of the infernal grunt undead, made up his mind, and directly activated the group sacrifice skill. He was going to sacrifice all the remaining dragons to these infernals, including the undead of that valiant dragon. In an instant, the 3 warlord undead were all strengthened into valiant level undead. Undead infernal warlord. Features: Valiant level undead. Strength: 4298. Physique: 4387. Agility: 4199. Infernal body. Immunity to 20% attacks. Self-healing ability. What terrifying attributes! And there were even additional attributes, which made Lu Zhan's heart happy. Reincarnation, sacrifice. All of this was completed within just 10 seconds. At this moment, around Lu Zhan, there were a full 50 undead infernals, forming a square formation. In this situation, he didn't even need to do it himself. So, Lu Zhan put away Blood Lament and said lightly, "Well then, let's begin the killing journey." The 3 undead warlords were on the outside, waving the weapons in their hands and directly killing their former underlings. Their attributes were too terrifying. It was completely a massacre, and their killing speed was even faster than number one. Lu Zhan's square formation of 50 infernal undead was like a bulldozer, directly pushing through the infernal army. Chapter 153, Scared Shitless. Ya Ga 11. In the air, Hellion roared angrily, and the battle axe in his hand actually grew countless times, like a heaven-opening axe, splitting the sky in half and facing number one head-on. However, number one did not dodge or avoid. The small axe was swung up. With a boom, the huge heaven-opening axe was directly chopped to pieces by number one's little axe. On the ground, the three mutated beasts were watching with great interest and even commented on it. Woof woof, little monkey, did you see? That's my big brother. Is he strong? Oh, woo, so strong. Tiger big brother. Is that really little dog's big brother? Roar, roar, it's indeed little dog's big brother. But that's Lu Zhan's underling. Roar, roar, Lu Zhan's underling is my underling. So that's my underling. This little dog is my underling's underling. Oh, woo, so that's how it is, which means this little dog is also my underling. Roar, roar, that's right. You can teach this little dog a lesson in the future. Woof, woof, little cat, little monkey, you are courting death. Roar, roar, okay. Stop arguing, look over there. An infernal wants to run. Brothers, let's go together and eat it. The great king roared and had already turned into lightning and rushed up. Not far away, there was indeed an infernal who had left the battlefield, and it looked like he was ready to run away. The infernals did not have the same tough backbone as the dragons, so it was normal for some of them to be afraid of death. The moment they ran away from the battlefield, three ferocious mutated beasts surrounded them. The demon race was the top race, and as the royal family among them, the infernal's nutritional composition was really ridiculously high. Almost every bite the three mutated beasts took could increase their strength by 1 point. When they first arrived here, they could only fight one-on-one. But now, the great sage alone could fight three infernals without falling behind. Extremely brave. Center of the battlefield. Lu Zhan's eyes had been glowing green all the time, and the skills reincarnation and sacrifice had almost never stopped. As the killing continued, the strength of the undead around him was constantly getting stronger, and the speed of killing was getting faster and faster. The infernal army's momentum had gone from the initial one like a rainbow to the current timidity. More and more were running away. However, as soon as they ran away from the battlefield, they would be surrounded by three fierce mutated beasts. Hellion, who was fighting against number one in the air, had no time to pay attention to the situation on the ground. But even though it was inconspicuous, it found something was wrong. This demonic energy was getting weaker and weaker, but the aura of death was getting stronger and stronger. But he had been unable to capture the black-armored warrior in front of him. What shocked him the most was that after fighting this black-armored warrior for so long, the other party showed no signs of exhaustion, but was getting stronger and stronger. If it went on like this, he would not escape death. Thinking of this, he smashed away the black-armored warrior with an axe, then glanced at the ground. If he didn't look, it didn't matter. But when he looked, his face changed greatly. The thousands of demonic beast army had already died more than half, and he was a little afraid of the strength of the warlords turned into undead. In an instant, a word popped into Hellion's mind. Escape. In human terms, it meant to keep the green hills, and not be afraid of running out of firewood. When the demon race's real army arrived, he would definitely be able to make a comeback. Once he had this idea, Hellion immediately switched to defense. He had to accumulate power and run away in one breath. This black-armored warrior was too strong and could not be caught up. On the ground, Lu Zhan was in the midst of reincarnation and sacrifice when he suddenly heard a voice in his mind. Master, it wants to escape. Although number one was ignorant of other things, he had the top level of combat awareness. How could it be possible for Hellion to hide his intention to escape from it? Go berserk directly, don't let it run away. Lu Zhan said quickly. The undead transformed from the infernal warlord was already so strong. How strong would the general be? How could Lu Zhan let him go? In the air, Hellion felt that the time was almost right, and suddenly drank. A black demonic energy burst out of his body instantly. In an instant, the strength of this guy skyrocketed. It was almost time to escape with all his strength. As a result, The strength of the black-armored warrior in front of him suddenly also skyrocketed, and even the magnitude of the skyrocketing was more than his. When Hulian's heart tightened. What the hell is this? However, by the time it reacted, the black-armored warrior had already disappeared in place, and then suddenly appeared in its ear. Die. An extremely strange sound rang directly in Hulian's mind, and it, which had already retreated, was immediately frightened out of its wits and stood there motionless. An odor drifted in the air, and even Lu Zhan on the ground smelled it. Then, a yellow liquid fell from the sky, stinking. Damn. Scared shitless. Lu Zhan quickly covered his nose. The black liquid was flowing from Hulian. The dignified, valiant infernal general was actually scared shitless, which simply made Lu Zhan stunned. In the air, the effect of death lasted only 1 second, and Hulian, who reacted, naturally knew what had happened. But before it could become angry and ashamed, a huge force had already slammed down from the top of its head. With a boom, Hulian's body was like a cannonball and fell directly to the ground, smashing out a deep pit. Number 1 followed closely and rushed into the deep pit. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Zhan couldn't see the scene inside the deep pit, but just listening to the sound, he could imagine Hulian's miserable situation. Wouldn't it be directly chopped into a piece of minced meat? Then there was no way to reincarnate it. In the air, dark clouds had once again gathered. Lu Zhan was not flustered at all for the 3rd time. Anyway, he couldn't be split down, so there was nothing to be flustered about. However, after waiting for dozens of seconds, Lu Zhan's face changed a little. Why hadn't the system's killing sound come yet? Looking at the sky, the dark clouds were about to take shape, and if he dragged on, it would be the rhythm of perishing together. Number 1. Take back the strength. Come back? Lu Zhan dared not gamble any longer, so he could only take number 1 back into the undead space first. Anyway, Hulian had been beaten for so long, even if he didn't die, it was estimated that he would only have half of his life left. If Lu Zhan could still not handle it, then his so much power would be a waste. In an instant, the deep pit had become quiet again, and around him only the sound of the infernals killing the infernals remained. However, Lu Zhan frowned slightly. The terrifying thunder tribulation aura in the air had disappeared again, but another terrifying aura was slowly rising. The source of the aura was in the deep pit. What's going on? Flash in the pan? Chapter 154. The Demon Lord Descends. Lu Zhan was on high alert, cautiously approaching the edge of the deep pit and peering down. There, lying motionless, was Hulian. He certainly appeared to be dead. Why isn't the system announcing anything? Lu Zhan's eyes glowed with a green light as he cast undead reincarnation. But again, nothing happened. Hulian wasn't dead. Not quite. He was clinging to life by a thread. And with that thread, he intended to take Lu Zhan down with him. Self-destruct? Lu Zhan's power was far beyond anything he could have imagined. A self-detonation probably wouldn't even scratch him. That left only one option, his final, most potent move. Demon Lord Descent. Lu Zhan didn't bother thinking about it anymore. If he wasn't dead, a few more blasts would finish the job. He had plenty of ranged attacks to choose from. Drawing Blood Requiem, Lu Zhan prepared to unleash a skill downwards. In that instant, an aura of unimaginable terror suddenly descended. From Hulian's corpse, a black, demonic hand burst forth from his stomach. The power, the sheer horror of it, was unlike anything Lu Zhan had ever encountered. In its presence, he couldn't even muster the will to resist. Death, your underlings are being unruly. This one will clean up your mess for you. A voice devoid of all emotion echoed. The hand shot skyward, reaching for Lu Zhan. As soon as it appeared, every single demon stopped fighting and knelt to the ground, trembling. The Demon Lord's aura, the supreme being of the demon race. Rumble. The entire island began to shake. Cracks spread from the deep pit outwards. And the changes weren't limited to the ground. A terrifying force emanated from the sky as well. Dark clouds were gathering at an astonishing rate, several times faster than when number 1 was going all out. Lu Zhan's face contorted in a grimace. He wanted to run, but he found himself frozen in place, as if the horrifying demonic energy had him completely locked down. In the sky above, the storm clouds finally completed their formation. With a deafening boom, a terrifying lightning bolt struck down, aimed directly at the black, demonic hand. Far in the distance, Old Black Shell and Great King shuddered and couldn't bring themselves to move, petrified by the lightning. Their lightning was like 12 volts compared to 1,000,000 volts. And at this moment, Zhan was caught directly between the demonic hand and the lightning strike. Either one would obliterate him, leaving nothing behind. In this critical moment, Zhan's mind became incredibly calm. There was only one sliver of hope, and he had to seize it, no matter what. Demon hand below. Lightning strike above. The world turned upside down. It felt as if all the attention in the universe was focused on Zhan. He closed his eyes and silently chanted. Skill. Invincible golden body activated. Immune to all attacks for 2 seconds. He could only hope that the skill was truly as described, that it really was immune to all attacks. With a ding. Just as the lightning strike and the demonic hand were about to touch Zhan, his entire body turned golden. The lightning struck the demonic hand. There was no explosion. Instead, time seemed to stop, the space around them pitch black, as if torn asunder. Intriguing. The demonic hand was, after all, just a hand, not the demon lord himself. It couldn't withstand the lightning strike. It vanished in an instant, leaving only those words hanging in the air. Sensing the disappearance of the demonic hand, the storm clouds likewise began to dissipate. It was like a program set by the system. Once it completed its assigned task, it didn't care about anything else. The two terrifying energies had come and gone in a flash, leaving Zhan unharmed. Ding! Congratulations on defeating a heavenly demon general. You have gained experience. With a thump, Zhan collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. His entire body was soaked in cold sweat. Though it seemed he had done nothing, he felt as if he had used every ounce of strength he possessed. Death had been right before his eyes. He had experienced this feeling before. In his previous life, he hadn't escaped it. But in this life, he had survived. Is that what a god is like? How incredibly powerful. Just a phantom hand that had crossed dimensions was so terrifying. If the real thing were here, it could probably obliterate him with a single glance. Fucking hell. It took nearly a full minute for Zhan to recover enough to stand up, cursing. He almost lost everything. Thank goodness. Thank goodness he had given the Black Dragon set to number 1 when he was in the Himalayas. If he had been wearing that set, no matter how strong its stats, it wouldn't have been enough to withstand such a terrifying attack. It seemed everything was a test of fate. Zhan turned and looked at the remaining heavenly demons, a surge of post-traumatic rage rising within him. He re-summoned number 1. The Berserk's weakened state had passed. Kill them all. Leave no survivors. In an instant, number 1 had disappeared, plunging back into the demon horde to begin the slaughter once more. Zhan turned back to the deep pit, still shaken. The body of the heavenly demon general had a gaping hole in it. He wondered if it was still usable. No matter, I'll give it a try. His eyes shining, the next second, the heavenly demon general's body stood up. Then, with a leap, it jumped out of the pit and stood before Zhan. The hole in its stomach was already healing at a visible rate. This must be the ability of a heavenly demon body. The soldiers had it, so the general definitely has it. Looking around, he saw a large number of heavenly demon corpses scattered on the ground after only a few minutes. First, I'll upgrade this heavenly demon general to Brave class. 5 minutes later. Fucking hell. Zhan couldn't help but curse again. He had already sacrificed hundreds of heavenly demon soldiers, but the general still hadn't even reached elite class. He knew that this thing would be difficult to upgrade, but he hadn't expected it to be this hard. But that didn't matter. With so many heavenly demons, he would brute force his way to Brave class. Not enough heavenly demons? He'd use other demons. He was going to scour the area for all kinds of them anyway. 10 minutes later, the fractured island had returned to peace. All the heavenly demons had been slaughtered. Perhaps a couple stragglers had managed to hide, but Zhan wasn't going to bother looking for them. Great King, Great Sage, and Old Black Shell each had 3 heavenly demons laid out before them, which they were devouring with gusto. These were Zhan's rewards. Adding these to the ones they had already eaten. Today, the 3 mutated beasts had truly had a feast, and were nearly bursting with food. Roar, Roar. What's Lu Zhan bro doing over there? Great King roared as it ate a heavenly demon's head. Awoo, I know this one. Lu Zhan bro is probably scolding him. See that big guy in front of him? He's getting stronger and stronger. Roar, makes sense. When I was a little tiger, humans used to scold me. Woof, you two idiots. Roar, dog, say that again. Awoo, dog, say that again. Chapter 155, Fragments of the World. Ding. Congratulations, your undead has been promoted to heroic rank. Finally, he thought. It had finally worked. Hearing the voice in his head, Lu Zhan breathed a sigh of relief. He glanced around. Only 10 demonic sky generals and 30-odd demonic sky lieutenants remained. These were his core forces, essential to his operations, and couldn't be sacrificed. But the others, 1,000 heavenly demons, had been utterly consumed, fed entirely to this demonic sky general. The results, however, were good. He'd managed to brute force the promotion to heroic rank. Lu Zhan couldn't wait to check its stats. Undead demonic sky general. Trait: heroic rank undead. Strength: 7,829. Constitution: 7,689. Agility: 7,589. Demonic body: immune to 30% of attacks, possesses super regenerative abilities. Incredible! Lu Zhan could only describe it with that one word. But having experienced the terror of that demonic hand, Lu Zhan couldn't afford to relax. If the second stage opened and the gods descended, even with 100 undead of this caliber, he would still be utterly annihilated. As far as he knew, even when the second stage had arrived in his previous life, nothing this powerful had appeared. Otherwise, humanity would have had no chance to resist. But this life was different. He had been too high profile, so much so that he had practically become an enemy of the gods. He didn't know if those divine beings would cast aside all restraint and strike him down. But having come this far, Lu Zhan couldn't turn back. He had to keep moving forward. He could only hope that the undead monarch standing behind him would prove powerful enough. Shaking off the unease, Lu Zhan collected all the undead into his undead space. Just as he was about to head to the next location, he suddenly noticed something strange beneath the cracked island. The area should have been covered by seawater, but instead, there was a bizarre blank space. The surrounding water seemed unable to flow in, no matter how much it tried. Something's there? A water-repelling pearl? A thought sparked in Lu Zhan's mind. For some reason, he had a feeling that it was calling to him. After some consideration, Lu Zhan instructed the 3 mutated beasts, "You 3, wait here." Then, equipped with his golden wings, he slowly flew down. About 10 minutes later, Lu Zhan indeed found something. It was a blue shard, seemingly ordinary, with nothing particularly remarkable about it. But Lu Zhan could sense that this was the very thing causing the strange phenomenon. Without hesitation, Lu Zhan reached out and grabbed the shard. The instant Lu Zhan touched it, boom, it felt like a nuclear bomb had detonated in his brain. An incredibly intense pain exploded outwards. At the same time, countless images flashed through his mind, one after another. In the images, immortal mountains rose into the sky. Humans flashed past, riding dragons, riding phoenixes, riding all sorts of rare and exotic beasts. Lu Zhan tried to get a closer look, but he couldn't make out any more details. He only felt an even more intense pain in his head, as if it was being torn apart. At that very moment, inside the undead city, Lu Yong stood with utmost respect beside Huang Shengren. Before them was the city cube. He had unconditional trust and reverence for Lu Zhan. But facing this great sage, this little savior, Lu Yong was filled only with respect and adoration. A complete fanboy. National Preceptor, how do you think these 5 teleportation arrays should be planned? Lu Yong tapped the cube, and a miniature projection of the entire undead city appeared in the air. The city was too large. Even with transportation, it took a long time to travel from the north to the south, which was extremely inconvenient. Fortunately, the cube even allowed for the construction of small teleportation arrays. However, the construction costs were outrageous. Lu Yong had emptied the national treasury and could only afford to build 5 for now, making their location even more critical. That's why he had come to consult Huang Shengren. Huang Shengren pondered briefly, then pointed out 5 locations on the projection. These 5 places are the most suitable. But as soon as he spoke, a look of surprise crossed his face. He felt a sudden stirring in his heart, and he couldn't help but react. That kid, he discovered it so quickly, the future of the human race. Bermuda Triangle. He didn't know how much time had passed. The images finally disappeared, and Zhan gasped for air, his body once again drenched in cold sweat. A wry smile appeared on his face. He never expected to experience something like this twice in such a short period of time. Readjusting himself, Zhan looked at the shard in his hand, the culprit behind it all. Fragment of World's Will. Looks ordinary, but its use is unknown. That was the system's description of the item, complete nonsense, like saying nothing at all. But Zhan was sure that this thing was no ordinary object. He turned it over and over, even tried to break it with his hands, chop at it with his sword, bite it with his teeth, burn it with fire, and finally dripped blood on it. But nothing happened. Helpless, he could only put it into his storage ring. And at the moment the item entered his storage ring, something incredibly magical happened. The already somewhat cramped storage space suddenly transformed. It rapidly expanded in all directions, so much that Zhan couldn't see the edges. That wasn't all. Patches of grass appeared on the blank ground, lifelike. No, they were real grass, living grass. A breeze blew, and the grass swayed in the wind. Wind. There was even wind. Zhan's face was filled with utter shock. What was a storage space? It was just a place to put things. There was no air inside, no time. Food wouldn't spoil, steel wouldn't rust. There wasn't a single sign of life. In his previous life, someone had even experimented by putting a small animal inside. The animal's life had ended the moment it entered, and even taking it out wouldn't bring it back to life. But now, life had sprung into existence within Zhan's so-called garbage storage ring. There was even wind. It was all because of that fragment of the world's will. Could this thing create a world? This was too terrifying. Even more shocking than the demon's descent just now. Was his storage ring still a storage ring? Zhan looked at its stats, and it had indeed changed. Incomplete Ring of Worlds. Contains a world within. Ring of Worlds. What a powerful name. And there was no rank, no description, just that simple line of words. But the fewer words there were, the greater the shock to Zhan. Taking 3 deep breaths, Zhan managed to suppress the shock. In any case, this was a great thing for him. Then, Zhan leaped up and jumped out, back to the top of the small island. Beside him, the 3 mutated beasts had already devoured all the heavenly demons and were standing up, patting their bellies. Roar, 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 Zhan, good brother. Where did you go? Want to eat some? Oh woo, good brother. Do you want some of this? I heard a human saying, like for like. Look, this thing is so thick and long. It must be big. Woof, woof, woof. You 2 idiots. Humans don't eat raw. They have to cook it. Blackie Bell felt that although everyone was roughly equal in strength, he was definitely smarter than these 2 big guys. Chapter 156. A World. Zhan looked at the 3 bickering mutated beasts and suddenly had the urge to put them all into his storage space. But he decided against it. Although the Ring of Worlds seemed capable of holding living things, he would be heartbroken if these 3 died. He needed to experiment first. Looking around, Zhan felt a sudden sense of bewilderment. Was this still the infamous Bermuda Triangle? The oppressive atmosphere had vanished, replaced by calm seas, clear skies, and a gentle sea breeze that made one feel refreshed and invigorated. It was like a tourist paradise. Could the Bermuda Triangle have formed because of that fragment of the world's will? If that were the case, then it wasn't something that appeared after the apocalypse, but something that had always existed. And the images that had appeared in his mind just now, what were those? Who were the Dragon Riders? Who were the Phoenix Riders? Were they humans? Or so-called gods? Immortals? Zhan's heart pounded. He felt like he was about to uncover a shocking secret. Shaking his head, he pushed the messy thoughts out of his head. Whatever it wasn't something he should be thinking about right now. What he needed to do now was experiment and see if the Ring of Worlds could really hold living things. With that thought, Zhan spread his wings and flew to a nearby island. There were many plants growing there. First, he pulled up a small blade of grass, and with a thought, the grass instantly disappeared from his hand and appeared in the Ring of Worlds, planted directly on the ground. swaying in the wind, full of life. A look of joy appeared on Lu Zhan's face. It was really alive. Then, he looked at a tree beside him and pulled it up with one hand. He put it into the Ring of Worlds as well. As a result, the tree withered rapidly after being planted for only a second. It had turned into ashes in just 10 seconds and disappeared into the air. Was it because the tree had more vitality? He was glad he hadn't put the 3 mutated beasts inside. Even a tree couldn't survive, so those 3 wouldn't be able to either. Then, Lu Zhan looked at the sea beside him, reached out his hand, and thought. In an instant, his hand was like a water pump, continuously drawing seawater into the Ring of Worlds. And in that world, a lake was quickly forming. It was a real lake. A gentle breeze blew, the water sparkled, and all it needed were some fish. Lu Zhan pulled his hand out. He was just doing an experiment. He didn't intend to drain the seawater. After this experiment, Lu Zhan was quite excited. Clearly, this was just one fragment. As long as he could collect other fragments, other changes would definitely occur. If there were enough fragments, could he put people in there directly? That would be a real world. Back on the small island, the 3 mutated beasts had already digested all the heavenly demons. When they saw Lu Zhan, they stood up and patted their bellies. Roar, 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 Lu Zhan, good brother. Where are we going next? What are we eating? Oh woo, that's right, good brother. This saint has never eaten so happily before. It's so awesome. Woof, 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 little monkey is swearing. He's really a wild monkey. Oh woo, this little dog is getting more annoying, brother tiger. Can I beat him up? Roar, 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 beat him, beat him, beat him for me too. The 3 mutated beasts were arguing enthusiastically when they heard Lu Zhan roar from the other side. All of you, shut up for me. Lu Zhan was brainstorming when these 3 guys annoyed him. He thought of a possibility. Why did the heavenly demon tribe choose to set up camp here? Was it just because of the rules? Temporarily trapping them here? Could there be other possibilities? Could it be related to the fragment of the world's will? If there was one here, could there be one in Mount Everest, where the dragons were? With this thought, Lu Zhan's eyes lit up instantly. With a wave of his hand, he said, "Let's go. Let's revisit the old place." Mount Everest. The dragons were gone, and only blood of various colors was spilled all over the mountains. At the foot of the mountain, several bold mutated beasts secretly approached, licking the flowing blood. This was dragon blood. Just a drop could greatly increase their strength. Suddenly, 2 lightning balls approached at high speed. It was King and Blackie Bell. Woof, 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 little monkey runs too slowly, can't even fly, so embarrassing. Blackie Bell glanced behind him and didn't even see the big guy. Once again, he seized the opportunity to taunt, barking directly. This time, King couldn't help his little monkey brother either. There was no way around it. Great Sage really couldn't fly, and he was too big. He couldn't carry him either, so he could only let him run on the ground by himself. On the way, many humans and demons were scared out of their wits. Fortunately, Great Sage was thinking of his good brother Lu Zhan and would automatically avoid humans. As for demons? Sorry, he just crushed them. The tasty ones would even be grabbed and thrown into his mouth. Naturally, the speed couldn't be fast. Lu Zhan didn't care about him either. The big guy wasn't slow either, and he believed he would catch up soon. He carefully looked at the highest peak in front of him. If there was really a fragment of the world here, where would it be? In the Bermuda Triangle, the terrifying power of the demonic hand had torn apart the island, revealing the thing. With this thought, Lu Zhan directly took out Blood Lament, then flew to the mountainside. You two, step back a little. After King and Blackie Bell stepped back, Lu Zhan took a deep breath, grasped Blood Lament tightly with both hands, and focused his mind. At this moment, the illiterate Lu Zhan couldn't help but want to recite a poem. In ancient times, Chun Xiang split the mountain to save his mother, and now Lu Zhan splits the mountain to get the fragment. Skill: Sanguine Demon Blade Strike. Strike. Blood Lament rapidly enlarged, and in just 1 second, it had become a 100-meter giant sword. He slashed down at Mount Everest. Rumble. The earth shook and the mountains swayed. Within 100 miles, it was as if an earthquake had occurred. Both demons and mutated beasts scattered and fled. Mount Everest had a crack in the middle from top to bottom, but it didn't collapse. It was as if it had been split into two half-mountains. Lu Zhan's eyes lit up. In the huge dust, he could clearly see the fragment in the center of the crack. It was really as he thought. Waving his wings, Lu Zhan flew in and reached out to grab the fragment. At the moment of contact, those strange images attacked again. However, this time, the headache was much weaker. In addition, Lu Zhan was prepared, so it wasn't so unbearable. But Lu Zhan still couldn't see the details in the images. When the images disappeared, the fragment was already in his hand. Without hesitation, Lu Zhan directly put it into the Ring of Worlds. Chapter 157, The Yukai. In an instant, the space changed again. Some of the ground rose up out of nowhere, forming small hills. Other parts sank in, the grass growing thicker, even blooming with flowers and sprouting small trees. Most wonderfully of all, in the sky above, a small light appeared, illuminating the entire world. It seemed to be a sun, but it wasn't. If he had to describe it, it was like a fragment of the sun. World building. This was literally world building. Lu Zhan was so excited he couldn't help but tremble. Then who am I? The creator. Fuck, that's awesome. While you guys are still struggling to level up by killing monsters, I'm already building a world. You scared yet? In his excitement, Lu Zhan glanced around and noticed a small rabbit frantically running away from the earthquake nearby. Since the apocalypse, only a small fraction of animals had mutated. Most were still ordinary, which was truly miserable. The monsters ate animals when they couldn't find humans. Humans ate animals when they had nothing else. Ordinary animals were becoming a rare species. This little rabbit was practically a treasure. Just then, a monster seemed to spot it. It snatched at the rabbit, and the little creature froze in terror. The next second, a fireball soared through the air, incinerating the monster to ashes. Lu Zhan flew over and gently picked up the little rabbit. The rabbit quickly calmed down and licked Lu Zhan's palm with its tiny tongue. His mental strength was extremely high now. He couldn't influence people, but influencing this little animal was easy. Lu Zhan thought, and the rabbit disappeared from his hand. Then, with nervous anticipation, he looked into the world ring. The rabbit looked slightly nervous at first, but quickly got used to the environment and hopped happily through the grass. There were no monsters here, no cruel humans. It was as if it had returned to before the apocalypse. Seeing this, Lu Zhan felt a rare sense of peace, as if some of his anger had been gently blown away. He actually felt healed. A woo, a woo, a woo, a woo. Tiger bro, doggo, why are you flying so fast? Just then, a howl broke the tranquility. Then, the ground trembled. A gorilla came charging over, stirring up dust. It was Great Sage. Finally catching up, Lu Zhan took a deep breath, resisting the urge to put the gorilla into the world ring. What a perfect atmosphere ruined. A woo, where's the food? What are we eating this time? Woof, 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 eat my ass. Can't you feel the mood? Stop yelling. Yell my ass. Roar, 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 roar dog, mind your language. Lu Zhan looked at the fractured Mount Everest, thinking. The heavenly demons and the dragon clan both had world fragments. What about other top-tier races? With that thought, Lu Zhan pulled out his phone, found Huang Shengren, and sent a message. Less than a second later, he had a reply. Looking at the information on his phone, Lu Zhan was speechless. That old man. Looks like he was prepared for this. All right, next stop. Japan. Mount Fuji. Lu Zhan sat on Tiger's back, looking at the sacred mountain that symbolized the spirit of Japan. According to Huang Shengren's information, the mountain was home to the Yukai. Honestly, Lu Zhan was familiar with the name Yukai, but he had no idea what they actually were. Monsters? Talking animals? By Suzhan, Lady White Snake? Fox Spirit Matchmaker? Or bunny-eared girls? Would mutated beasts like Great Sage count as Yukai? Lu Zhan's mind raced with wild guesses. In 2 lifetimes, he had never heard of a Yukai race among the monsters. Clearly, the Yukai were on a higher level, beyond anything he could have encountered in his previous life. But soon, he would see the true face of the so-called Yukai. He was actually looking forward to it. But as soon as he got a little closer, a scene that was hard to stomach came into view. At the foot of Mount Fuji, a man and a woman were having a romp. The details were simply unprintable. The key thing was, The woman's lower half was a thick, serpentine tail, and the man was obviously human. Good lord. They're doing a remake of Suxian and the Snake. Is that what a yukai is? Zhan was observing and studying the situation from a scientific point of view when he suddenly heard the man scream. The man was instantly drained dry. He was literally sucked dry, leaving nothing but his skin. The bones, flesh, heart, organs, everything had vanished. Even Zhan was shocked. Romance. This action movie added horror elements. No one can handle this. Woof, woof, that scared the little dog. Roar, roar, yeah, that gave me the shakes. Even the two mutated beasts were grossed out. After draining the man, the yukai with the snake tail looked enraptured and swayed her tail as she went up the mountain. Her strength wasn't enough to detect Zhan and the others in the distance. Let's go down and slowly climb up. There might be a lot more good shows. Zhan said with an excited look. Apparently, that was the yokai's unique way of eating people. So fucking wild. Roar, roar, Zhan bro, you don't want to try it out yourself, do you? Great King roared with a suspicious look. It had heard that humans had a lot of perverted fetishes. As soon as it roared, it received a hard blow to the head. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll make you the male lead. Zhan said angrily. He was still traditional in this respect. He only liked human beauties. Woof, woof, aren't we waiting for little monkey? Old Black Shell barked. Although they often argued, they also had a bond. We're not waiting. You can leave some food for him later. Zhan said as he jumped off Tiger's back. The three of them, one man, one tiger, and one dog, quickly arrived at the foot of Mount Fuji. Zhan immediately smelled a fragrance that made him relax. Clearly, the fragrance had a special effect. Looking up, he saw human skins everywhere. They had obviously all been drained dry. He roughly estimated that there were thousands. And this was just at the foot of the mountain. In the distance, he saw a big dog head. But the lower half was a man. The dog-headed man was holding a human woman. Woof, woof, holy fucking shit. I can't take this anymore. Tiger bro, go swallow that thing. When Old Black Shell saw the dog head that looked similar to his, he felt a sense of empathy and couldn't take it anymore. This thing was truly terrifying. A human body under a dog head. Chapter 158. A nine-tailed yukai hunk? At this time, Great King was naturally very loyal. Although that thing looked a little weird, it still looked tasty. Probably no worse than dragon meat. With a boom, Great King charged up with lightning and bit the dog head. But the yukai were a top-tier race on par with the Dragon Clan, so they naturally had some skills. A dog tail quickly swept over from behind the dog-headed yukai, directly hitting Great King's body. With a bang, Great King was caught off guard and sent flying. The dog-headed yukai heartlessly threw the woman aside and turned his head, cursing. What thing? Woof. Dare to woof trespass into the yukai woof, forbidden area woof. You're courting death woof. Zhan was stunned. Good lord. That dog is speaking human language. Old Black Shell widened his dog eyes even further. He felt that his position in the dog world was seriously challenged. What is that thing? But as soon as the dog-headed yukai finished roaring, a terrifying lightning bolt struck down. Great King was a tiger that cared a lot about its reputation. Getting knocked away by a dog-headed thing in front of Old Black Shell was a disgrace. This lightning strike was an all-out attack. No matter how strong the dog-headed yukai was, it was just an ordinary class monster. But Great King had eaten so many top-tier monsters that he was completely different now. Ah woof. The lightning was so fast that the dog-headed yukai couldn't react in time. It was hit head-on and gave a short, frantic scream. The dog-headed yukai trembled and a smell of char wafted through the air. Then, Great King took the opportunity to bite down on the dog head, swallowing the entire thing with a few crunch, crunch sounds. Roar, roar, the taste of doggo isn't bad. Great King said, savoring the taste. But this lightning strike had been loud, and it was impossible not to attract the attention of other yukai. Zhan looked up and saw several yukai running down. Eagle-headed yukai, pig-headed yukai, fish-tailed yukai, the snake-tailed yukai. The yukai simply opened Zhan's eyes and made him marvel at the diversity of life. But with that, there was no way to watch more good shows. In that case, let's just start killing. Having watched 2 exciting shows in a row, Zhan's blood was pumping. He didn't summon the undead but drew blood requiem to vent his energy. The next second, Lu Zhan's figure disappeared from the spot. With his current agility, he was as fast as lightning even without using skills. In an instant, he was in front of the pig-headed yokai, stabbing it in the forehead with his sword. Then, he attacked the next target. No second sword needed. No confirmation needed. Lu Zhan had absolute confidence in his strength. One sword was a guaranteed kill. From Old Blackshell's perspective, Lu Zhan flashed in front of several yokai in a row, but they didn't even see how he attacked. In just 10 seconds, the yokai who had charged down were all on the ground, none of them alive. Lu Zhan didn't hesitate to turn the yokai into undead and sacrifice them to the heavenly demon undead in the undead space. Old Blackshell and Great King weren't in a hurry. There were probably a lot of yokai on Mount Fuji, enough for them to eat. Hero, save me. There are monsters. Just then, a very weak girl ran down from above, asking Lu Zhan for help. Lu Zhan couldn't take his eyes off her. Even to him, the girl's beauty was astonishing. Her face was the ideal of a first love for countless boys. Most importantly, tears streamed down her face, making her incredibly pitiable. She was only wearing tattered clothes, barely covering her vital parts, which made her even more tempting. Lu Zhan seemed to be entranced. His eyes filled with fascination as he watched the girl run down, opening her arms to throw herself into his embrace. The next second, Lu Zhan's sword accurately pierced the girl's heart. In an instant, the girl's appearance changed drastically. Her body was still the same, but her head turned into a fox. The fox's eyes were full of confusion and unwillingness. Why? Why was this human, who had obviously been charmed by her? You're speaking Chinese in Japan? You here on a study abroad program? A smile appeared on Lu Zhan's lips, his eyes full of mockery. Charming me? Dream on. His mental strength was far from average. Ding. Killed elite-class monster succubus fox yokai. Reward? It was actually an elite-class monster. Lu Zhan was a little surprised. He glanced down. He had to admit, her body was really good. Should I take advantage while she's still warm? Holy shit. Lu Zhan quickly turned her into an undead and sacrificed her, nipping that terrible thought in the bud. Foxes. Roar. Suddenly, a tiger roar echoed through the mountains. A tiger-headed yokai was looking at Lu Zhan with tears in his eyes and an incredibly hateful expression. The tiger eyes were so wide that even Great King was ashamed. Foxes? Did he mean the succubus fox yokai? Interesting. Did the yokai actually have love? A tiger-headed man and a fox-headed woman. Weren't they different species? The yokai's relationships are too messed up. Lu Zhan was about to comfort the tiger-headed yokai when he heard Old Blackshell bark excitedly behind him. Woof, woof, Lu bro. Let me do it. Let me do it. Great King had just eaten a dog-headed yokai. Shouldn't Old Blackshell eat a tiger-headed yokai to return the favor? Okay, don't blame me for not warning you. This guy is elite class. I won't save you if you can't beat him. Lu Zhan said calmly. Woof, woof, I'll bite elite class anyway. Old Blackshell roared, his body growing rapidly, the giant demon power erupting, and charged toward the tiger-headed yokai with lightning crackling. Lu Zhan stopped paying attention. Even if the idiot couldn't win, he could definitely run away. He charged quickly towards the top of the mountain with his sword. Let's finish this quickly and take care of the leader, the brave class yokai. With full power. In just 10 seconds, Lu Zhan had reached the top of Mount Fuji. But as soon as he appeared, he saw an incredibly bloody scene. In the center of the summit, a tall man was standing naked. If you only looked at his body, he was completely identical to a human. However, he had 9 fiery red tails behind him. The 9 fiery red tails radiated outwards, the ends connected to 9 women. The man groaned. The 9 women were instantly sucked dry into skins. Lu Zhan couldn't save them, even if he had wanted to. Lu Zhan gasped. This is probably the legendary 9-tailed fox. But weren't the 9-tailed foxes in the movies and TV shows all beautiful women? How come? It's such a violent, muscular guy. Chapter 159. A prodigy among the myriad races. The 9-tailed fox elegantly retracted its 9 tails, its flowing long hair fluttering in the wind. It should have been a breathtakingly beautiful scene. But the mountaintop was covered with human skin, at least several thousand of them, like a vision of hell. And because this thing was a guy, the whole scene was thrown off, and Zhan just felt nauseous. The Yukai are a goddamn detestable race. The next second, the nine-tailed fox suddenly spoke, rugged voice that made the whole scene even more unique. The Yukai god gave a prophecy. If you get the chance, be sure to kill Zhan. There will be a great reward. I thought I wouldn't get the chance, but you delivered yourself right to my door. Ha ha ha, if I kill you, I have a chance to advance to commander. I guess I'm pretty famous, Zhan said with a smile. The dragons, the heavenly demons, and now the Yukai all knew his name. Surely the other powerful races wouldn't be absent either. It seemed he, Zhan, was famous among all races, a cosmic-level superstar. However, these guys' information seemed outdated. They all still thought of him as an easy target. Oh, by the way, do you know Hellion? Zhan suddenly asked. The nine-tailed fox answered without thinking. The heavenly demon General Hellion? Of course I know him. Number 3689 on the prodigy list of the myriad races. A strong one. I heard he was the leader of the heavenly demons this time. The prodigy list of the myriad races? There's a list like that? Zhan was dumbfounded. The nine-tailed fox seemed to already be imagining himself getting the reward from the Yukai god after killing Zhan. He was in a great mood and didn't mind letting Zhan die knowing some things. He said, "The prodigy list is a ranking of young geniuses below the commander level from the myriad races. What's the point of ranking a few thousand people?" Zhan asked. "Normally, wouldn't they just rank the top 100? You don't know anything. There are billions of geniuses in the universe. The prodigy list ranks the top 10,000. The nine-tailed fox said with pride. Clearly, he was on the list too. Zhan saw through the guy's thoughts immediately and asked with a smile, "So, what number are you?" 7,982. The nine-tailed fox said casually. "And I've devoured so many humans this time. My strength has increased greatly. I'm sure I'll have improved." But his expression, his tone, Zhan knew it all too well. This guy's showing off. A smile appeared on Zhan's lips. He loved nothing more than a good face slapping. "In that case, you're not doing so well in the Yukai race. Let me guess. The Yukai are a strong race among the myriad races, so there must be a lot of geniuses. There are probably super geniuses in the top 100, even the top 10. You're ranked over 7,000. Does that mean you're at the bottom of the Yukai race? So, you're a nobody." The nine-tailed fox's face turned red. He had obviously been hit where it hurt. He roared, his voice becoming shrill. "Zhan, you're courting death." As soon as the words left his mouth, the nine tails turned into 9 sharp swords, instantly stabbing towards Zhan. The next second, a huge figure appeared in front of Zhan, blocking all 9 tails. The powerful nine-tailed attack couldn't even pierce its skin. "Since you know him, I'll let him play with you. Let me see the difference between someone ranked 3,000 and someone ranked 6,000 on the prodigy list," Zhan said calmly. He had summoned the brave class heavenly demon general undead, Hellion. The nine-tailed fox's expression changed drastically when he saw the tall figure. There was a picture of everyone on the prodigy list. How could he not recognize Hellion's appearance? What the hell is going on? Why is Hellion here? And standing on Zhan's side? His first thought was that the death race had partnered with the demon race. But looking at Hellion's condition, there wasn't a spark of life. He had obviously become an undead. Hellion was killed, and then turned into an undead. The truth flashed into the nine-tailed fox's mind. All his arrogant air was gone. Only one word remained in his mind. Run? But it was too late. The undead Hellion suddenly reached out and grabbed one of the fiery red tails. Then, he just pulled and pulled and pulled, like a tug-of-war, pulling the nine-tailed fox closer little by little. The nine-tailed fox completely panicked. He used all his strength, but couldn't escape at all. He could only get closer and closer to Hellion. He frantically attacked the other with the other tails, but it was useless. The foxtails he was so proud of were now like cotton candy and couldn't break through the defense. He opened his mouth and spat a demonic fire towards Hellion. But Hellion flapped his wings gently, and the demonic fire disappeared. The nine-tailed fox used all of his attack methods, but he couldn't avoid getting closer to that terrifying demon. Ah! Finally, The nine-tailed fox screamed and cut off his tail. He finally regained his freedom. But the next second, Hellion moved and grabbed another tail. The eight-tailed fox gritted his teeth and cut off another tail. Hellion grabbed him again. After a short while, 9 fiery red tails lay on the ground. Hellion was holding the tailless yokai's head in one hand, preventing him from moving at all. The tailless fox was completely desperate. Losing his 9 tails had cost him 90% of his strength. At this point, even an ordinary yokai could kill him. Only then did Zhan slowly walk up to the yokai and say, "Looks like your 6,000 plus ranking isn't so great after all." The nine-tailed fox's strength was indeed much worse than the heavenly demon General Hellion. Even in his lifetime, Hellion could have crushed him, let alone now, when the undead Hellion had been strengthened many times over. The yokai god won't let you go? Ah. With a puff, Zhan stabbed Blood Requiem right in. He didn't have time to listen to that thing's threats. As the system voice came, Zhan immediately turned him into an undead and sacrificed him. Although he was brave class, all of his power came from his 9 tails. Now that all 9 tails were gone, turning him into an undead made him weaker than a normal heavenly demon. He had to be sacrificed. In his undead space, most of the heavenly demons had been strengthened to brave class. The remaining few were probably close to. After taking care of the leader, Zhan summoned number 1. Patrol around. Kill all the yokai. Those things are disgusting to look at. At the foot of the mountain, there were bursts of energy fluctuations and all kinds of howls. Woof woof. Roar roar. Awoo awoo. Obviously, Great Sage had arrived and joined the all-you-can-eat buffet. With the 3 mutated beasts and number 1 working together, it wouldn't be a problem to wipe out all the yokai. Chapter 160. Experiment. Zhan stood on the mountaintop, closing his eyes to rest. After waiting for a while, the entire Mount Fuji became quiet. Number 1 returned to his side. As for the 3 mutated beasts, they were probably hiding somewhere eating their feast. So, he put number 1 back into the undead space, put on his wings, and slowly flew down. Next, he had to split the mountain again. Flying to the middle of the mountainside, Zhan took out Blood Requiem and was about to start splitting when he suddenly saw a large group of people in the distance, heading towards them. The group was pushing something that looked like a prison wagon. The wagon was full of a dozen children. Some of the children were crying, while others were looking around with innocent curiosity. Soon, the group had reached the foot of the mountain, pushing the wagon to the front. Then, the group walked behind the wagon, knelt down, and kept kowtowing, saying something repeatedly. But after kowtowing for a long time, there was no reaction from the mountain. A few people became suspicious and pushed the wagon forward a little more. Just then, a person fell from the sky and landed in front of them. The group quickly knelt down again, kowtowing and speaking. But they were speaking in Japanese, and Zhan couldn't understand a word. Clearly, they thought Zhan was one of the yokai on the mountain. That made sense. Although ordinary class yokai had obvious animal features, the 9-tailed fox could look almost human if it put away its tails. And Zhan had flown down from the sacred mountain. Who else could he be but a yokai lord? After listening for a long time, Zhan said impatiently, "Speak human." Hearing Chinese, the group paused. Soon, one of them reacted. This guy had learned Chinese. He quickly said in broken Chinese, "Lord, last time you said that the taste of children was better. We caught these children for you to enjoy. Please grant us a reward." Zhan had suspected it, but hearing these words come out of their mouths still made him feel sick. These people. No. These things didn't deserve to be called people. Zhan didn't bother saying anything else. He casually swung his sword. The group didn't even have time to react before they were all dead. However, Zhan left one person alive, the one who had spoken Chinese. "Stand here. If you move, I'll kill you," Zhan said calmly. Then, he shouted towards the mountain. "You 3, get your asses down here. I'm splitting the mountain." Roar, roar. Zhan bro, wait a moment. The sound of Great King's anxious roar came from the mountain. Then, the 3 mutated beasts started working as porters, carrying the yokai corpses down one by one. It would be too wasteful if Zhan split them into pieces. After a full 10 minutes, the ground not far from Mount Fuji was piled high with hundreds of yokai corpses. The person who had survived was still standing there without moving, not knowing if he was scared stupid or scared to death. The children in the wagon were crying loudly at such a terrifying scene. The oldest of these children were 7 or 8 years old, and the youngest were babies. He didn't know where these crazy people had snatched them from. In the apocalypse, children like these couldn't fight even if they awakened a hidden class. Zhan took out his staff and waved it at the wagon, casting the sleep spell skill. In an instant, all the children stopped crying and fell into a deep sleep. Then, he walked to the front of the wagon, looked at Mount Fuji, took out Blood Requiem, and took a deep breath. Slash. Unlike Mount Everest, this strike caused Mount Fuji to explode. Countless stones flew away. Zhan waved his hand to knock away all the stones. The wagon behind him was safe and sound. As for the 3 mutated beasts, they didn't care at all and were just eating their feast. The stones couldn't even hurt them. Don't let him get killed by the stones. I still have use for him, Zhan ordered, and Great Sage quickly adjusted his position, using his massive body to shelter the scum from the storm of debris. After a full 5 minutes, the explosion of Mount Fuji finally stopped. In the huge dust cloud, Zhan immediately saw the world's will fragment. He flew over and picked it up. With the experience of the previous 2 times, Zhan could be said to be expressionless. When the images disappeared, he put it into the world ring. With a boom, the world ring changed again. The thing that looked like the sun in the sky got a little bigger. Some small fish seedlings appeared in the lake, and the saplings on the ground slowly grew. The little rabbit was still hopping around, full of curiosity about the world. After feeling it, Zhan walked to the front of the scum and said calmly, "Do you believe me?" The scum trembled and nodded. He didn't dare to answer anything else. "I'll take you somewhere. You agree, right?" Zhan asked again. Storage equipment was different from the undead space. There was no way to forcibly put something in. First, he had to touch the item. Second, if the other party was conscious, he had to get their agreement. People had done experiments. Agreement obtained through force also worked. The scum didn't dare say no and nodded weakly. The next second, his figure disappeared. Zhan's mind quickly looked into the world ring. The reason he had kept this guy was to do an experiment. The scum's figure appeared in the world ring, but instantly turned to ash and scattered in the wind. So, humans still can't survive in the ring. Zhan was a little disappointed. He'd grab a weaker mutated beast and try it another day. Then, he looked at the wagon. Zhan was in a dilemma. Should he leave them here? That would be the same as killing them. Zhan had killed countless people and wasn't exactly a good person. But that didn't mean he had no bottom line. Some things couldn't be done. Doing them would make him no different from the scum earlier. After thinking about it, Zhan took out his phone and sent a message to Huang Shengren. "I'm at Mount Fuji in Japan. There's a wagon full of kids here. Can you come and take them back?" Anyway, there were still so many Yukai corpses to deal with. That would probably take a lot of time. And Huang Shengren's crane was only a little slower than Great King. It would probably take an hour or 2 to get here from the undead city. Coming right away. Soon, Huang Shengren's reply arrived on Zhan's phone. Putting away his phone, Zhan looked at the pile of Yukai corpses. There were still a few undead in his space that hadn't reached Brave class. This pile of corpses should be enough. Chapter 161. Ancestor of All Races. 1 hour later, Zhan was idly summoning undead. He had already upgraded all the Tiamat to the heroic rank. The remaining demonkin corpses were naturally all for the 3 mutated beasts to devour. At this moment, the 3 creatures were still eating with great relish. But then, a powerful aura descended from the sky. Looking up, he saw a crane rapidly approaching. Zhan stood up. The old codger was quick to arrive. A moment later, the crane landed slowly. Huang Shengren, sitting atop, couldn't help but smile as he saw the group of children sleeping soundly and unharmed in the prison cart. Killing too many people wasn't a big deal. As long as you knew who you could kill and who you couldn't, then there was no problem. Huang Shengren had bet everything on Zhan, placing all his hopes on him. Although he looked as steady as Mount Tai on the surface, he was definitely nervous inside. The better Zhan performed, the greater the hope, and the happier he naturally became. "It hasn't been long since we last met, and your strength has already improved so much." Huang Shengren said with a smile as he dismounted the crane. It's all thanks to the National Preceptor's information. Lu Zhan said, all right, take these children away. I need to go to the next stop. So urgent? We finally met. Why not chat for a bit? Huang Shengren glanced at the giant gorilla and said, you even managed to con this giant gorilla into following you? What's there to talk about with you, an old geezer? Lu Zhan was speechless. Being around this old man always gave him the feeling that he was being seen through. But the next second, Huang Shengren waved his staff, and his entire being transformed into a stunningly beautiful dominatrix with long black stockings. You don't like old men, so do you like me in this form? The voice was soft and seductive, a wet dream for any LSP, lesser spiritual practitioner / slang for pervert. Lu Zhan trembled all over, his scalp tingling. If you had appeared in this form from the start, fine. But transforming right in front of him was purely disgusting. You damn it. Quickly, change back for me. Lu Zhan said, his face pale and trembling. Haha, so there are things you're afraid of in this world. Huang Shengren laughed, and with it, poof, he turned back into an old geezer. Lu Zhan sighed in relief. He felt much more comfortable looking at him this way. All right, what do you want to talk about? What are your thoughts on the world's consciousness? Huang Shengren waved his hand, casting a soundproof barrier so that only the two of them could hear the conversation. Lu Zhan remained unfazed, saying nonchalantly, world's consciousness? What the hell is that? Huang Shengren smiled and shook his head, saying nothing. Suddenly, the two fell silent. A moment later, Huang Shengren's expression suddenly changed, becoming incredibly domineering. His aged face radiated a startling aura, a kingly presence that said, above heaven and below earth, I alone am supreme. Even a top-tier poser like Lu Zhan couldn't help but be awed by the other man's kingly aura at this moment. What the hell is going on with this old man? Did he take something? But the next second, Huang Shengren's incredibly overbearing voice rang out. What? 10,000 races? All of them are crap. My human race is the supreme race in the universe, the ancestor of all races. Dragons? Sky phoenixes? They are merely the strongest mounts of my human race. Demons? Gods? Immortals? Demons? They are merely the seeds sown on other planets by the strongest of my human race. 5 elements race? Azure race? They are merely the local natives taught by the strongest of my human race. Elves? Titans? They are merely playthings created by the strongest of my human race when they were bored. Huang Shengren's words were like a fantastical tale. To others, they would be nonsense, the ramblings of a dream. But in Lu Zhan's heart, waves of shock and astonishment arose. The images that appeared when he touched the world's consciousness became increasingly clear in his mind. Human race, ancestor of all races. Although it sounded incredible, how could the ancestor of all races have fallen to such a state today? Toyed with by the other races at will, as if in a game. Finally, Huang Shengren looked at Lu Zhan and asked hatefully, now, these villains actually dare to try and destroy the human race. Such an act of annihilation, it is unforgivable. Lu Zhan, how do you think my human race can endure this? Lu Zhan was shocked, but his face remained calm as he said, oh, how can't we endure it? What can we do if we can't win? What's the point of pumping him up with this? Any random divine level could come down and crush him with a finger. It's only natural for ancestors to discipline their descendants. Descendants riding on the heads of their ancestors? Strength speaks. Lu Zhan wore a look of disdain, sneering, where are the strongest of humanity you speak of? Now that the human race is in imminent danger, why don't they appear? Why don't they come out and deal with their unfilial descendants? Huang Shengren was silent for a moment before suddenly roaring, his face flushed. Where are the strongest of the human race? You're asking me? Who the hell should I ask? Old man, weren't you the one who brought it up first? Why are you getting angry now? Lu Zhan was speechless. Ah, Huang Shengren sighed, and that domineering aura instantly disappeared. This kid ruined his mood for chatting. Forget it. There's not much time left. Work harder. With that, he waved his staff, and a transparent bubble appeared around the prison cart, enveloping it. He would have the crane pull it back later. With the protection of this bubble, The inside would be calm and still, no matter how fast they went. There wasn't much time left. Zhan naturally knew what he meant. The second phase was about to begin. By then, Zhan, this dragon, was likely to instantly become an insect. Honestly speaking, Zhan now felt like he was going crazy before death. Because until this moment, Zhan still didn't know how to break the situation. It seemed to be a dead end. Huang Shengren stood on the crane, ready to take off slowly. Zhan directly asked, "Old man, who exactly are you? Why do you know so much?" The crane slowly took off, pulling the cart of children behind it. Huang Shengren turned his head, looked at Zhan with a profound expression, and left behind only 2 words. Which were? "You guess. F***ck your mother." Zhan was enraged, roaring at them. "Big bro, Lao Hei, blast him for me. Bring his crane down for me. Roar, roar, roar. Old man, don't run. I've wanted to roast that little bird for a long time. Woof, woof, woof. Big cat, I'll eat the bird's head. You eat the bird's butt." Big bro and Hei suddenly got excited, their bodies flashing with lightning. But the next second, Huang Shengren in midair waved his staff at the 2 mutated beasts, and a strange energy struck them. In an instant, the 2 mutated beasts were directly frozen in place, unmoving, as if they had been petrified. Petrification for 10 minutes as punishment. If there's a next time, I will definitely execute. As the voice came, Huang Shengren's figure flew further and further away, until it disappeared. "A woo, a woo, a woo. Ha ha ha, you can't move. All this food is mine. Ha ha ha, eat quickly." Great Sage went completely insane. Chapter 162, The God Race. Zhan was too lazy to pay attention to the 3 mutated beasts and took out his phone to look at the information Huang Shengren had given him. There were a total of 9 pieces of information. Dragon, Sky Phoenix, God Race, Tiamat, Immortal Race, Elf Race, Demonkin, Destiny Race, 5 Elements Race. Although Huang Shengren didn't say it explicitly, it was already very clear. These 9 races were the most powerful of all the races, and the locations where they were located were also where the shards of the world were. In other words, there were a total of 9 shards of the world? That old man was quite annoying, mysterious and secretive, not explaining anything clearly. Was that how you treated a human emperor? Anyway, regardless, he had to deal with these 9 races first. The Dragon, Tiamat, and Demonkin races had been wiped out. 6 races remained. If he was fast enough, 2 days would be enough. Then the next stop, the location of the God Race, Vatican City. Vatican City. Before the apocalypse, it was the smallest country in the world and a gathering place for religions. Now, it had been occupied by the God Race. Although the God Race was said to be monsters, their appearance was no different from humans. However, the difference between the God Race and humans was also obvious, and that was their aura. The God Race emitted a strange aura from the inside out. In their words, it was divinity. Divinity. That was what the God Race was proud of. At this moment, inside the church, Ivan sat on the Pope's chair with an air of nobility and holiness, saying, "The great light God Emperor has already sensed your sincerity. He will first bestow upon you the power of light." Below him, a human knelt on the ground, incredibly excited upon hearing these words. He felt a powerful force surging within his body, and the person's eyes had lost all reason, leaving only fanaticism. "Thank you for the great light God Emperor's grace." He kowtowed heavily and backed out, kneeling the entire time. Once the person left, Ivan revealed a smile. Not bad. He had gained another divine servant. The God Race was different from other monsters. They didn't eat people. The God Race was noble. How could they do something so disgusting as eating people? They spread the divine power for the gods, which, to put it simply, was tricking humans. For every human they tricked, their strength would increase by 1 point. And the humans who were tricked would completely lose their personalities, becoming their slaves. Compared to spreading faith like Zhan, this was much more domineering and barbaric. The God Race had 9 great God Emperors, each in charge of different authorities, and the light god behind Ivan was the most powerful, in charge of the 2 authorities of light and holiness. Ivan clapped his hands. Soon, from the room next door, a pair of human twins walked out. They had blonde hair and blue eyes, with beautiful faces, but their eyes had no light, like puppets. The twins walked to Ivan's thighs and slowly knelt down. A moment later, Ivan sucked in a breath of cool air, looking extremely delighted. Human action was really good, so much better than those women of the god race. But then, a terrifying aura descended from the sky. With a boom, the entire church was directly blasted apart, collapsing instantly. Ivan didn't even have time to put on his pants before he saw a person holding a blood-red sword, jumping down from the sky, and he happened to see Ivan sitting on the chair, as well as the kneeling twins. His eyes lit up. Yo, the god race is pretty good at playing. Ivan's face turned red. The god race also valued their reputation, and very much. Their self-esteem was unusually high. He stood up directly and said, "The god says that you are guilty. You need to commit suicide." As he spoke, a holy light suddenly bloomed, shining on Lu Zhan's body. Lu Zhan frowned slightly. This aura made him feel a little disgusted. It was holy. What the god says doesn't work. What I say is the truth. I say, you damn well deserve to die. Lu Zhan snorted coldly. Ivan's face suddenly changed, and he said with some panic, This is impossible. You actually ignored divine magic. The god says, you should kneel. The god says, there should be light to purify you. The god says, any evil darkness should be expelled. The god says, Ivan continuously cast several divine magic spells, and all kinds of lights shone. But Lu Zhan didn't react at all, approaching him step by step. Was this the god race's way of attacking? Was it a verbal attack? Lu Zhan was speechless. Those lights did contain some strange power. But Lu Zhan's mind and body were outrageously high. No matter what that power was targeting, it didn't do him any harm. You too, go kill him. When Ivan finally realized that divine magic was useless, he panicked and ordered the twins. What crap? Lu Zhan was too lazy to waste any more time and disappeared from where he was. The god says, protect me. Ivan shouted quickly, and a holy light shield instantly appeared around him, but he heard a demon's whisper in his ear. In the next life, don't believe in any gods. Believe in me. My name is Lu Zhan. With a poof, a blood-red sword directly passed through the shield and pierced into Ivan's mind. Ding! Congratulations on killing elite-level light envoy. Huh, he was only elite level? Lu Zhan was a little surprised. He had originally thought this guy would be the boss here, a heroic level. But then, two daggers simultaneously stabbed at Lu Zhan, coming from the twins. Although Ivan, who controlled them, was dead, that order had already been planted in their minds. Lu Zhan waved his hand casually, sending these two beauties into the embrace of death. Regardless of the reason, anyone who dared to attack him should be prepared to pay the price. Time is tight. Finish the battle in half an hour. Lu Zhan summoned number 1 and the undead demon generals, saying with unparalleled arrogance. In the air, Big Bro and Hei were also extremely excited, flying down, their bodies covered in lightning. But the next second, a voice suddenly came. The god says, deprive you of the power to use lightning. Not far away, a middle-aged man with spiky yellow hair looked at the two mutated beasts, saying, as soon as he finished speaking, the lightning on Big Bro and Hei's bodies really did disappear completely. Woof woof woof, what's going on? Where's my lightning? Hei immediately got anxious, using all his strength, but he couldn't emit even a trace of lightning. Big Bro was about the same. The yellow-haired man wore an arrogant expression, but after seeing Ivan lying on the ground, his expression changed drastically, and he said with extreme anger, Lord Ivan, you actually killed Lord Ivan. He was the strongest here, the only heroic level existence. However, the god race's rules were very complex. Ivan was under the light god, the strongest existence among the god emperors. And the thunder god emperor behind him only ranked 6th. So although his strength was much stronger than Ivan, his status was still lower than Ivan's. You're so damn verbose. Lu Zhan's mind moved, and the undead Tiamat general had already disappeared from where he was, appearing in front of the yellow-haired man. The slaughter began. Half an hour later, the god race was completely wiped out. Lu Zhan flew into the air and slashed down with his sword. Chapter 163. the immortal race. Mount Tai. With his body covered in gold armor, Zhan flapped his wings, flying 1,000 meters above Mount Tai. In the past 2 days, he had been working day and night without rest, running all over the world. Even he couldn't help but feel a little tired. However, the harvest was not bad. Of the 9 races, 8 had now been destroyed. Only the immortal race on Mount Tai remained. The slaughter journey of the past 2 days had also opened Zhan's eyes. The demonkin were just complete chimera abominations, the kind that made people feel physically uncomfortable. Then there were the 5 elements race. Their appearance was the same as humans, the only difference being their color. 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, earth. The metal race was golden all over, the wood race was green all over, the water race was almost transparent, the fire race was fiery red, and the earth race was yellow. What impressed Zhan the most was their 5 elements combination technique. After combining, their strength was not just 5 times stronger. It directly soared dozens of times, which was outrageous. In the end, he had to have number 1 go all out to take them down. And then there was the elf race, which could be said to have a deep connection with Zhan, a connection of deep hatred. The elves were petite in appearance. Even the tallest heroic level was less than half a meter tall, but their small bodies contained powerful energy, and the power of their magic was comparable to forbidden spells. Imagine hundreds of forbidden spell mages bombarding you with magic. In the end, Zhan relied on the physical resistance of his Tiamat undead to bulldoze through, wasting 5 heroic level Tiamat undead, which made his heart ache. Zhan savored it for a moment, cheered himself up, and decided to hurry up and solve the immortal race in front of him. Then he would call up a few beauties and rest properly. Zhan reached out his hand, reaching forward. But the next second, his hand stopped in place, as if there was an invisible wall in front of him. As expected, there was a protective shield. Although this thing couldn't be seen, he could still sense it faintly with his mind. He took out Blood Lament. Zhan took a deep breath and slashed out his sword. With a ding, as if glass had shattered, the protective shield directly appeared in front of Zhan, and a crack spread around it. A dozen seconds later, the entire protective shield shattered instantly, and above Mount Tai, several figures flew through the air. They had no wings, no flying equipment, as if they were flying with just their bodies. Was this the immortal race? Zhan took a closer look and couldn't help but feel a sense of jealousy. Damn it, they were too handsome. The appearance of this immortal race could be described as perfect, whether in appearance or body shape. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful. If they were put into the entertainment industry, they wouldn't need 2.5 years. They could practice for 2.5 minutes and debut directly, truly relying on their faces to make a living. But then, Zhan felt a little puzzled. There were so few of this immortal race. After counting, there were only 15 of them. Even the dragons had more than 20. Brother Liu, you've come? After a moment, the immortal race man at the head flew to Zhan and cupped his hands in greeting. So polite? What was going on? For a moment, Zhan was really confused. My race's immortal ancestor once said that the human race has done us a favor. So, my immortal race is different from other races. We have always had goodwill towards the human race. Since descending to this world, we have never harmed a single person. Brother Liu, would you like to go up the mountain for a chat? The man was polite, as if he were welcoming guests. Chat your sister. Zhan didn't appreciate it at all, and even directly slashed out with his sword. Blood-colored sword energy flew out. Although he didn't understand the situation, he didn't believe in any goodwill. They were not of his kind, and their hearts must be different. This immortal race didn't look like good people at all. But the next second, the immortal race man waved his hand, and the blood-colored sword energy directly dissipated. Zhan frowned slightly. This guy was a little strong. He was probably stronger than that Tiamat general. Fine. Since Brother Liu doesn't want to, then we won't chat. We will leave now. The time is almost up. Our mission is complete. We will return to the immortal realm. I believe we will see each other again soon. The man wasn't angry and showed a smile on his handsome face. Then he waved his hand. The 15 members of the immortal race directly rose higher and higher, disappearing. Did they ascend? Did they return to the immortal realm? What the hell was all this? Zhan was completely confused, as if his punch had hit cotton, making him extremely uncomfortable. What was going on with this immortal race? Did they really have goodwill towards the human race? To be honest, Zhan didn't believe it. The so-called 10,000 races were trying their best to come to this world, and they must have something extremely important, and it was related to the human race. Could the immortal race be so detached from the world? Not tempted? What were they selling in this gourd? Shaking his head, Zhan was too lazy to think about it. Since the immortal race was gone, he should take out this last piece of the world's shard first. Focusing his mind, he slashed at Mount Tai with his sword. After a while, Zhan put the 9th piece of the world's consciousness into the world ring. In the world ring, it was already a big change. There were mountains, water, flowers, grass, and trees. Along the way, Zhan had also captured many animals and put them inside, creating a paradise. And on a plain in this world, there were piles of corpses of various demons. These corpses, each of which would cause a sensation if released. These were the corpses of the top demons. Roar, roar, roar. This kind of day is so awesome. Eat and shit. Shit and eat. Awoo, awoo, awoo. Yeah, brother tiger. I used to have to fight hard to eat one. Now they are all here to eat. Woof, woof, woof. You two are useless. The 3 mutated beasts almost lay in this pile of corpses, turning their heads and opening their mouths. It was the best delicacy. After collecting the 7th piece of the world's consciousness, Zhan found that he could also put these 3 mutated beasts into the world ring. So he let them live directly inside. But what surprised him was, demons were okay, mutated beasts were okay, but humans still couldn't enter it. The strength of humans was obviously the weakest. It seemed that this was not determined according to strength. Maybe he had to collect the complete world's consciousness. And as this 9th fragment entered, Zhan was quite excited, and his mind turned to that world. With a boom, the entire world changed again. In some places, it was snowing. In some places, it was raining. In some places, the sky was clear. It was almost the same as the real world. But Zhan was a little puzzled. In the sky, the sun looked complete, but when you looked closely, there was still a missing piece. Could it be that there was still one piece missing? Where could that piece be? Maybe Huang Shengren didn't know either. Roar, roar, roar. Zhan, good brother, what good food is there this time? Woof, woof, woof. Yeah, I'm tired of eating these things. The mutated beasts sensed Zhan's will and called out. Zhan was already a little depressed, and this call made him even more upset. He directly released all 3 mutated beasts. Get the hell out of here. Chapter 164. Secret Realm opens. In just 2 or 3 days, the 3 mutated beasts had undergone a huge transformation, both in terms of strength and appearance. Continuously eating top-tier delicacies, honestly, these 3 could be said to be the happiest creatures in the world. Their strength was increasing every minute, every second. At this moment, De Wong's fur was golden all over, a shining gold. Ordinary people would probably be electrocuted just by touching a single strand. Although Bei Lao He was still black, he no longer looked like a dog at all, but rather a divine and mighty exotic beast. The biggest change was with Deshang. In fact, its potential was already the strongest of the 3 exotic beasts. With this massive amount of nourishment, it not only awakened the ability to change size at will, but also, like De Wong and the others, awakened elemental power. Of course, its element wasn't lightning, but earth, as if it were the lord of the earth. De Wong's lightning barely caused it any damage. Although its strength had surpassed De Wong, once a big brother, always a big brother, Deshang still called it Tiger Bro. I'm giving you guys a mission. The 3 of you, go find me some lackeys. Remember, I don't want trash lackeys. The stronger, the better. From now on, whoever finds more and stronger lackeys will be the boss. Got it? Zhan said directly. The strength of these 3 mutated beasts had almost reached a bottleneck. Eating those top-tier foods any longer would just be a waste. There were still 8 of the top 10 mutated beasts left. Bringing them all under his command and feeding them those top-tier demon corpses would have the strongest effect. Roar, roar, roar. Zhan, good brother, rest assured, this De Wong's lackeys will definitely be the strongest. Awoo, awoo, awoo. Tiger Bro, I won't let you win this time. I know a crocodile in the Bermuda Triangle whose strength is no worse than mine. I'll go get it. But the next second, a bolt of lightning had already sped away. Woof, 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 you two idiots. I'm one step ahead. Dewang cursed as he flew off in another direction. As for Deshang, it instantly entered the ground, tunneling away with earth. This was the competitive spirit. After a moment, now only Zhan was left alone. When the three mutated beasts were around, he complained that they were noisy. But now that they were gone, he felt a little lonely. He should go back and rest first. Zhan flew into the sky. Mount Tai wasn't far from the undead kingdom. It wouldn't take long to fly slowly. While flying, Zhan took out his phone and sent a message directly to Huang Shengren. Are there 10 pieces of the world's consciousness fragment? World's consciousness? What's that? This old man was answering him with his own reply from a few days ago. But soon, Zhan received another message. Some things can't be forced. When the time comes, they will naturally appear. Zhan put away his phone, looking annoyed. Damn it, he was still playing riddles with him. Just as he was feeling annoyed, a voice suddenly came from his mind. Ding, heroic level secret realm is about to open. Detected that you have a secret realm token. Please select whether to enter the secret realm. Huh, secret realm? Zhan was slightly stunned. He then remembered that he had obtained a token a while back. He had almost forgotten about it. Without thinking, Zhan replied directly. Enter. A heroic level secret realm was a really good place. How could he not enter? If he remembered correctly, the first piece of black equipment in his past life was produced in this secret realm. He was determined to get it. In an instant, his depressed mood was swept away. Ding! Secret realm entry countdown begins. 10, 9, 8, 2, 1. As the countdown ended, Zhan's eyes immediately went dark. After a period of spinning and dizziness, Zhan opened his eyes and found that he had already appeared in the secret realm. He glanced around. There was only him. Unlike those ordinary dungeons, this place felt like a small world. Looking around, he couldn't even see the edge. Zhan was too weak in his previous life. Not to mention entering the secret realm, he had barely even heard of it. Naturally, he didn't know any so-called strategies or anything. But then, a cry came from the sky. He saw a huge bird of prey swooping down towards him in an instant, the wind whistling. Heroic level monster. This, if it were outside, would probably make most humans run away with their heads in their hands. But Zhan just took out Blood Lament and slashed his sword upward. The next second, the monster's head fell directly off its body. With 2 bang-bang sounds, the head and body fell to the ground one after another. Gale Magic Eagle. Zhan was too lazy to even glance at such trash. But when he glanced at the corpse on the ground, his eyes couldn't move away. He exclaimed in his heart, "Holy shit!" He saw that the corpse had actually dropped 5 spheres. What the hell was going on? He knew that with his current strength, it was difficult to drop anything even when killing those demons, god race, and demonkin. But here, he casually killed an eagle, and it dropped 5 items? So this was a secret realm. These monsters were treasures in the secret realm. 5 items. 3 pieces of blue equipment, 2 enhancement stones. This was definitely a big explosion. Treasure land. Absolutely a treasure land. Zhan took all these things, not even letting go of the eagle's corpse. Anyway, his storage space was practically infinite. He could put anything in. The equipment could be used to arm the people of the undead kingdom, and the corpses could be used to feed the mutated beasts. Thinking of this, a gleam of light flashed in Zhan's eyes. All the monsters in this secret realm. Zhan took them all. Inside the secret realm, in a valley, Zhang Tianfu stood on the ground with unparalleled arrogance, pointing his finger at a monster in front of him, beckoning at himself. You, come here. Standing opposite him was a heroic-level monster, the Flame Berserker Lion. Zhang Tianfu was helpless. He didn't expect that entering this secret realm would randomly place him in one location alone. This was a pain for a defensive talent like him. He didn't even expect to encounter such a beast right after appearing. He wasn't afraid. With his current defense, there weren't many things that could kill him. But he didn't have masochism. There was no way. He could only let this Flame Berserker Lion charge at him, then taunt it, and rely on that little bit of reflected damage to kill the other party. This was his only way to attack. The flame berserker lion was really taunted and leapt up, pouncing fiercely at Zhang Tianfu. Zhang Tianfu seized the opportunity to release the skill taunt and then let the lion attack, bite, tear, grab, and roar at will. A full 10 minutes later, the flame berserker lion let out a scream and finally died. Zhang Tianfu clapped his hands, stood up from the ground, and then saw the spheres on the corpse. He shouted loudly, "Holy shit, 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 shit." He saw that there were as many as 10 spheres piled on the corpse. This directly stunned Zhang Tianfu. He knew that his luck seemed to be very good, but he didn't expect to drop 10 items directly by killing one monster. Did he encounter a bug? No matter what, he would collect all the items first. Just as Zhang Tianfu was about to act, a small arrow instantly shot from a distance, directly hitting Zhang Tianfu's head. Chapter 165, Despair. With a bang, Zhang Tianfu only felt a shock in his head, and his whole body fell to the side. This arrow was small and exquisite, but its damage was surprisingly high. If his defense wasn't high enough, this arrow would probably have pierced his head directly. Oh, this guy didn't die. His skin is pretty thick. Not far away, a handsome man and beautiful woman were calm. They each had an item called telepathy, so they gathered together as soon as possible after being teleported to the secret realm. The woman's arm was equipped with a crossbow. Obviously, that arrow was shot from her hand. She knew the power of her arrow very well, so she felt a little surprised. Be careful, those who can enter this place have some ability, the man said lightly, but his eyes showed absolute confidence in himself. Bromu, with you around, how can there be any surprises? The woman snuggled into the man's arms. 10 spheres. This guy's luck is really good. Who are you? What do you want? Zhang Tianfu stood up from the ground, saying a little embarrassedly. In fact, he knew very well that these two guys were trying to rob him, and they were extremely strong. But there was no way. In the current situation, he could only stall for a while and see if a miracle would happen. My name is Mu Shang. The man walked over directly, saying lightly, leave these things behind, and you can go. This big guy, to say nothing else, his defense was really high, and he was probably not easy to kill. This secret realm was full of treasures waiting for him to find. There was no need to waste time here. Mu Shang, Cheng Ying. Zhang Tianfu's eyes narrowed. The apocalypse had passed for a while, and the deeds of some strong people had begun to spread. In terms of popularity, people like Huang Shengren and Lu Zhan were definitely the top tier. Then this Mu Shang and Cheng Ying could be considered first-line big stars. Not only were both of them level 20 and extremely strong, but they were also a handsome man and a beautiful woman. They were a couple before the apocalypse, so their topic value was directly full. On the forum, there were a large group of their CP fans, and the reputation was pretty good. Zhang Tianfu didn't expect that these two people could do something like murder and steal. Sure enough, in the face of great interests, any darkness would be exposed. Bromu, he actually knows us. Then let's kill him. Otherwise, if he goes out and talks nonsense, it won't be good for our reputation. Cheng Ying picked up the 10 spheres one by one, and the smile on her face became stronger with each one. When she picked up all of them, she couldn't help but exclaim directly, Bromu, 7 pieces of equipment, 1 piece of purple equipment, 5 pieces of blue equipment, and 1 piece of green equipment. Honestly, what she was wearing now wasn't even this good. Mu Shang's breathing obviously quickened a little. He didn't expect to drop so many good things. Then this person must be killed. The next second, 5 cards appeared out of thin air in Mu Shang's hand. He threw them at Zhang Tianfu and said at the same time, I'm sorry, brother. With 5 bang 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 sounds, the 5 cards directly exploded in midair, transforming into 5 monsters, pouncing fiercely at Zhang Tianfu. His profession was a hidden profession, card master. After killing a monster, he could directly seal its soul into a card for his own use. It was much more overbearing than a beast master, because he had as many as 54 soul cards, which meant he could seal 54 monsters. After collecting for so long, all the monsters sealed in Mu Shang's cards were heroic level monsters. 54 heroic level monsters, that was Mu Shang's capital to be arrogant. At the moment, what he released was 5 heroic level monsters. He still valued Zhang Tianfu's strength quite a bit, but he believed that 5 heroic level monsters could take down the other party. Aside, Chang'ing also raised the crossbow in her hand, shooting 3 crossbow bolts directly. She was also a hidden profession, shadow hunter. Her damage was much higher than that of ordinary archers. Zhang Tianfu's face changed. His strong aide needed more people to work, but there was only him now, which meant it was directly useless. 5 heroic-level monsters, plus an archer with strong attack power. He didn't know if he could stop it, but he had to stop it even if he couldn't. He shouted loudly. 3 light rings of shields rose directly around Zhang Tianfu, and then the shield in his hand suddenly enlarged, topping forward. Boom! The 5 monsters crashed into the shield at the same time. Although they failed to break the shield, the powerful impact still knocked Zhang Tianfu flying out. Then, the 3 crossbow bolts shot on the light ring shield. The first layer of shield shattered directly. Haha, Bromu, this guy seems to be a defensive profession. Isn't that a living target? You can let your monsters go away first and let me shoot slowly to death. Chang'ing saw that the 3 arrows did not break all the shields of the other party. Instead of being disappointed, she happily clapped her hands. You are still so playful, Mu Shang said dotingly. He knew that his lover had a bit of a perverted psychology and liked to abuse people. Outside, in order to maintain a good image, she restrained herself very hard. Here, with no one around, it was okay for her to vent. And the great harvest just now made him feel good, so it was okay for him to accompany his lover for a while. Hee, big guy, are you ready? I'm going to shoot. Chang'ing smiled and raised her hand crossbow, aiming at Zhang Tianfu. Zhang Tianfu clenched his fists, trembling with anger. Humiliation. This was naked humiliation. But what could he do? The next second, 3 more crossbow bolts shot. Zhang Tianfu quickly raised his shield. Although he blocked the 3 arrows, the powerful force pushed him over again. Hee, big guy, my profession has a passive skill. When attacking the same target, the damage will become higher and higher. You have to be careful, Chang'ing said while shooting 3 more arrows. Zhang Tianfu didn't even get up and couldn't raise his shield. The 3 arrows hit, and the remaining 2 shields were directly shattered. This time, there are no shields, right? Chang'ing smiled and shot 2 arrows. With 2 poochie sounds, the 2 arrows directly hit Zhang Tianfu's hands. Under the pain, Zhang Tianfu could no longer pick up the shield. He gritted his teeth, saying hatefully, "Kill me, Bro Lu won't let you go." This woman's damage was indeed terribly high. With his defense, ordinary archers couldn't break his defense even if they shot for a day and a night. Yo, Bromu, he's threatening us. Chang'ing sneered and shot 2 more arrows. Kneel for me. The 2 arrows directly hit Zhang Tianfu's knees. Zhang Tianfu didn't want to kneel but couldn't control his body at all. With a plop, Zhang Tianfu lowered his head, his eyes full of hatred and humiliation. I've had enough fun, so go to hell. Chang'ing shot 5 arrows in a row, all targeting the other's head. Bro Lu, where are you? Zhang Tianfu was already desperate, shouting silently in his heart. But the next second, a figure descended from the sky, appearing in front of him, reaching out his hand and catching the 5 arrows one by one. Chapter 166. The Human Emperor-Empress. Lu. Bro Lu. Looking at the figure in front of him that was full of security, Zhang Tianfu even suspected that he was dreaming. He remembered the days when he followed Lu Zhan around. He was like a follower. He didn't have to do anything, just wait to pick up the benefits. That time was also the happiest time for him after the apocalypse. Later, there was the undead city. His life was much better. He could be said to have power, money, and everything, but he often fell into nostalgia. He missed that time, because Bro Lu was very busy and even rarely spoke to him. And now, Bro Lu appeared in front of him again, just like before. Thinking of this, a 5-foot man cried out, "Holy shit, don't you have any promise?" Lu Zhan was speechless and cursed angrily. Zhang Tianfu's appearance made it seem like there was something between them. Lu. Bro Lu, I'm sorry. Hearing the familiar voice, Zhang Tianfu finally confirmed that the Bro Lu in front of him was real. He quickly wiped away his tears and struggled to crawl out, but he couldn't do it at all. Okay, drink this. You can lie down first. Lu Zhan directly took out 10 bottles of high-level life potions and threw them over, saying, "In the apocalypse, as long as you weren't dead, you could drink potions to get back." Thank you, Bro Lu. Bro Lu, be careful. They are Mu Shang and Cheng Ying. Zhang Tianfu said quickly. Lu Zhan's mind quickly flashed through these two names. No wonder he could beat Zhang Tianfu like this. Mu Shang was one of the future 8 emperors, the Card Emperor. At the peak, he had 50 Lord-level monsters under his command. You know, in that era when emperors rarely appeared, lords were already top combat power. The monsters in Mu Shang's cards were different from Lu Zhan's undead. Not only could they fully use all their abilities before they died, but they were also amplified. The only drawback was that they could not be strengthened. As for Chang'ing, this woman was not simple either. Her strength was even comparable to some human emperors. But she and Mu Shang were one family, so she was not listed as one of the 8 emperors. However, this woman directly named herself the Empress. If you only talked about damage, she was much stronger than the Elf Queen. To be honest, before this, Lu Zhan had even thought about bringing this Condor Heroes couple under his command. But now, Lu Zhan looked at the two of them, a sneer on his face. Who are you? Mu Shang looked solemn, looking at the guy in front of him. Being able to catch Cheng Ying's arrows with his bare hands, this strength was terrifying. You don't know me? How the hell did you get around? Lu Zhan widened his eyes, looking angry. He thought that his name should be known to everyone. These two people didn't know him. That was an insult to his name as a demon king. Mu Shang frowned. Should he know the guy in front of him? In fact, he naturally knew Lu Zhan's name. However, these days, Lu Zhan had been running around. He had no time to clean himself up. His face was already full of stubble. Plus, he changed into a shit yellow armor. Whether it was his image or appearance, it had changed greatly compared to before. Mu Shang had only seen Lu Zhan's previous photos, so he naturally couldn't recognize him. But regardless of whether he knew him or not, Mu Shang had already made a judgment in his heart. This person in front of him was not easy to deal with, and it was best not to have a conflict. So, he said directly, Brother, the secret realm is full of treasures. We don't have to waste time here. I was wrong before. I apologize to you. Let's leave it at that. With his status, being able to apologize was already giving the other party a lot of face. After speaking, Mu Shang was about to pull Chang'ing to leave directly. Although Chang'ing was unwilling, she was still more sensible at critical moments. However, before they could turn around, they heard Lu Zhan's cold voice. You beat my little brother? You think you can leave like this? Aside, Zhang Tianfu added in time. Bro Lu, they also robbed me of 10 spoils of war. As soon as Lu Zhan heard this, he instantly guessed the cause and effect of the matter. Originally, even if Zhang Tianfu was unreasonable, he would have to get justice for his little brother. Now, Zhang Tianfu was still the reasonable party, so what was there to say? If these two people just left like this, Lu Zhan would be sorry for his name as a demon king. A hint of anger flashed in Mu Shang's eyes, but he still endured it, saying gloomily, Chang'ing, give the things back to him. Mu Shang. Chang'ing was full of unwillingness, but under the strict eyes of her lover, she still took out the 10 things and threw them on the ground. Mu Shang loosened his fist, gritting his teeth. Let's go. However, as soon as they turned around, a terrifying aura suddenly broke out. Did I let you go? Lu Zhan then swung his sword, and a blood-colored sword energy went away. Mu Shang's face changed. At the critical moment, he took out a card and threw it on the ground. The next second, a huge metal shield appeared out of thin air, blocking behind them. Cardmaster not only had soul cards, but also many cards for various purposes. With a boom, the sword energy slashed on the shield. The shield shattered instantly, only blocking for a second. But in that second, Mu Shang had already pulled Chang'ing to the side, barely dodging this sword energy. Although he dodged, Mu Shang felt infinite panic in his heart. This was the first time he felt so close to death. How was this possible? How could there be such a strong person in this world? It was just a sword. After escaping a catastrophe, Mu Shang could no longer care about anything else, and took out all 54 soul cards in one go. In an instant, 54 heroic-level monsters directly filled the entire valley. With 54 heroic-level monsters supporting him, Mu Shang's courage instantly returned. He looked at Lu Zhan viciously and said, You asked for it yourself. Don't blame me. Aside, Chang'ing's figure actually disappeared directly. Even Lu Zhan could not sense her breath. The future empress, She was naturally not a vase. At the moment, she had obviously entered a state of combat. Shadow Hunter. It could be said to be a perfect combination of assassin and archer. In the void, a dozen crossbow bolts were shot out continuously, whistling through the air. Zhan didn't even look at them. He swung his sword again, directly knocking down all the dozen crossbow bolts. With his current strength, human emperors and empresses were just younger brothers. The two sides were not on the same level at all. As for the 54 heroic level monsters, what kind of cats and dogs dared to put in front of him? What was he dealing with now? Dragons, phoenixes, gods, immortals. You were putting a bunch of tigers, leopards, and wolves here? Were you insulting him? Ah, fu. This guy wants to bully us with numbers. What do you think we should do? Zhan turned his head and looked at Zhang Tianfu, asking with a smile. Bro Lu, isn't this your strong point? Zhang Tianfu drank 5 big bottles in a row and had recovered almost. Well, you were right. Zhan waved his hand. A full 100 undead all appeared. Not only were there the 50 reborn heroic level undead, but also many undead that he had summoned for nothing to build up his momentum. How do you think my lackeys compare to yours? Zhan looked at the arrogant Mu Shang and asked. Chapter 167. An eye for an eye. Mu Shang was completely stunned. His body couldn't help but tremble. From fear, from dread. What were these terrifying demons in front of him? Just the aura alone was almost suffocating him. How could he fight this? There was no way. In an instant, Mu Shang made a decision. The next second, all the monsters under his command charged towards Zhan, while he himself took out a card, stuck it on his body, and his body directly disappeared into the air. He was going to escape by going invisible. In the dark, Chang'ing naturally knew Mu Shang's plan immediately. Without thinking, she directly ran backward. They had been together for so long and already had a telepathic connection. Zhan sneered inwardly. This invisibility ability was indeed powerful, even he couldn't sense it. But so what? Could invisibility immunize them from damage? Zhan took out his staff and waved it at the sky. The skill Fire Rain was directly activated. In an instant, a large amount of fire rain fell from the sky, covering a radius of hundreds of meters. As for that group of monsters, the Tiamat general directly destroyed a group with one palm. After a few palms, they had all become minced meat. Mu Shang, who had just gone invisible, hadn't even had time to run before he felt a wave of fiery energy coming from above. When the first one hit, he could still grit his teeth and hold on. But when the second and third continued to fall, he finally couldn't hold on. He patted out a card, forming a shield above his head, barely blocking the fire rain. As for Chang'ing, she was even more unbearable. She almost instantly appeared, rolling and crawling to hide beside Mu Shang. Her clothes almost burned off, tears streaming down her face. Mu, bro Mu. Since the outbreak of the apocalypse, they had never experienced such an embarrassing moment. Mu Shang's eyes were dull. He couldn't figure out what kind of profession the other party was. Swords, summoning, fire magic, and each one was so terrifying. Was this still a human? When the fire rain stopped, the two saw that Zhan was already standing in front of them. Please, please spare us. Mu Shang directly knelt on the ground, no longer having any intention of fighting. Bro, as long as you spare us, we'll do anything. Chang'ing also knelt down, looking begging, and incidentally tore off all the remaining clothes. It had to be said, she had some beauty. Zhan ignored the two of them, directly looking at Zhang Tianfu and asking, Ah Fu, what do you want to do with them? Zhang Tianfu walked over. He wasn't a good person, like Lu Yong. He always retaliated for any grievance. So he said directly, kill the man directly, and I'll torture the woman well. It was this woman who had humiliated him just now, like a little dog. If he just killed her, how could he relieve his anger? Hearing this, Mu Shang knew that there was no way out. A hint of viciousness flashed in his eyes instantly. Even if he died, he would make the other party pay the price. But before he could make any movements, Zhan had already slashed with his sword. Mu Shang didn't even react before he realized that his head had left his neck. His hands took out more than a dozen cards, but he couldn't throw them out. As for Chang'ing, Zhan also gave her a sword, but not to chop off her head, but to chop off the hand with the crossbow. Okay, don't take too long, Lu Zhan said lightly, then collected all the undead and flew to the top of the mountain. Thank you, Bro Lu. Zhang Tianfu smiled. Bro Lu was still thoughtful, chopping off this bitch's hand. On the ground, Cheng-Ying endured the pain of her broken arm, making a pitiful appearance, and even deliberately let her shoulder strap slip off. Don't. You want it. Seducing me. I think you're dirty. But Zhang Tianfu scolded disdainfully, then directly stepped forward and stepped on the woman's broken arm, blood spurting out. He had no intention of being seduced by this woman's nakedness. First, Zhang Tianfu could be considered a top figure in the undead kingdom anyway. He had played with all kinds of women. Second, men were most likely to relax their vigilance when doing that thing. Zhang Tianfu wouldn't let this kind of gutter capsizing happen. Leaving this woman was purely to return the favor with an eye for an eye. How the other party humiliated him, he would return it tenfold. 5 minutes later, Zhang Tianfu climbed to the top of the mountain, looking at Lu Zhan with awe, and said, Bro Lu, it's done. Lu Zhan asked directly, how many of us came in this time? The system gave a reminder before teleporting them in, so Lu Yong and others must have communicated. Sure enough, Zhang Tianfu immediately said, Bro Yong, Bro Jia, Bro Zhan, Xiao Lu, and National Preceptor all came in. As for the others, there wasn't time to communicate yet. Lu Zhan nodded. It was about what he thought. Then he asked with great interest, You killed a monster and dropped 10 things? Zhang Tianfu nodded a little shyly. As expected of General Tianfu, Lu Zhan patted his shoulder, saying excitedly, This secret realm was a treasure land for ordinary people. But for Zhang Tianfu, it was simply a blessed land. General Tianfu? This name is good. I like it. Zhang Tianfu's eyes lit up and said, This was a title personally appointed by Bro Lu. Lu Zhan directly summoned a Tiamat undead, then said, Let this guy carry you. Hurry up, let's get rich. This secret realm was very big, but the number of monsters was definitely limited. If others killed one, they would have one less. They had to hurry up. Walking was too slow. Zhang Tianfu looked at the ugly and terrifying guy in front of him and jumped on without hesitation. As long as it was what Bro Lu said, he wouldn't hesitate to jump into a pit of dung. Lu Zhan directly flew into the sky. Not far away, there was a monster. After flying close, Lu Zhan waved his hand and chopped the monster half to death, saying, Ah Fu, go kill it. The Tiamat undead carried Zhang Tianfu directly to the side of the monster. Zhang Tianfu jumped down and took out a giant sword. Although he didn't have any attack skills, he still had to get a weapon. And this weapon was not low-quality, blue equipment. Holding the giant sword, Zhang Tianfu chopped 4 or 5 times, finally killing the monster. 10 spheres exploded instantly on the corpse, really getting rich. Although there were 2 less than last time, 8 was already a super explosion. Lu Zhan picked up all the spheres, threw them into the world ring without looking. Time was tight, and he would sort it out after going out. Let's go, let's continue. Half an hour later, Lu Zhan was full of smiles, chopping a 3-eyed giant python into serious injuries. Behind him, Zhang Tianfu followed up, taking its life. On the corpse, a full 12 spheres exploded. Holy shit, 12, a new high. At this time, Lu Zhan had the temperament of a nouveau riche, putting all 12 spheres into the world ring. In such a short time, the 2 people's spoils had reached more than 100. Lu Zhan glanced slightly. There were 80 pieces of equipment alone, which was too crazy. And this was just the tip of the iceberg in this secret realm. If the entire secret realm was swept away, wouldn't there be thousands of pieces of equipment? Thinking of this, Lu Zhan trembled with excitement. He knew that this wasn't some trash whiteboard. Huh, Bro Lu, there's still movement over there. At this time, Zhang Tianfu glanced at the west and said, Chapter 168, An old man riding a heavy motorcycle. Holy shit, someone is robbing our monsters, Lu Zhan said without thinking. Lu Zhan had already unilaterally announced that all the monsters in this secret realm were his. After speaking, he flew directly to where the energy fluctuations came from. Behind him, Zhang Tianfu also quickly jumped on the back of the Tiamat and followed. After a moment, Lu Zhan saw a human fighting a monster. It looked like the person was about to take down the monster. Brother, stop. Lu Zhan roared directly, rushing down, blocking in front of the person. The Tiamat undead carried Zhang Tianfu to the front of the monster. Without being told, Zhang Tianfu had already jumped down and chopped with the giant sword. What do you mean? Zhang Fong put away his spear, looking at the other party with caution. Robbing monsters in front of his face, it was arrogant enough. If this guy didn't have wings, it was obvious that he was not easy to mess with. Zhang Fong would have already struck like a dragon. Huh, Divine Spear Heavenly King Zhang Fong. After seeing the person's face clearly, Lu Zhan was also a little surprised. He didn't expect it to be the Divine Spear Heavenly King, one of the 12 Heavenly Kings. I'm Lu Zhan, you should know me, right? Lu Zhan? Human Emperor Lu Zhan? Zhang Fong raised his eyebrows slightly. Even if he rarely looked at the forum, he had to know Lu Zhan's name. The Demon King of Slaughter in the early stage. After Huang Shengren came forward, he directly turned into a human emperor. Today's undead kingdom was definitely the strongest force, without one. It's good that you know me. Zhang Fong, follow me, how about it? Come to my undead kingdom, and I'll directly give you a set of blue equipment. Lu Zhan was generous and said directly. This was originally his previous plan, to eliminate the current monster forces in the world, and then to gather all the combat power that could be gathered, whether it was humans or monsters. Now, the first thing had been completed for the most part. The second thing could be completed in this secret realm. Those who could enter here, not all of them were strong, but most of them were dragons and phoenixes among men. Here it was. At the beginning, he met an emperor, an empress, and a heavenly king. Unfortunately, that emperor and empress didn't have eyes and were directly destroyed by him. Zhang Fong was stunned, a little confused about the situation. Was this bribing him? Seeing that he didn't react, Lu Zhan directly took out Blood Lament and released the skill Crescent Slash. Since soft methods didn't work, he would use hard ones. In an instant, the terrifying sword energy almost dyed the world red. Zhang Fong's face changed. If this sword were to slash at him, there would be no way to resist it. Before this, he had only heard that Lu Zhan was strong, but he didn't expect him to be so strong. The two sides were not on the same level at all. How about it? Follow me, I'm very strong. Lu Zhan raised his eyebrows and issued another invitation. In front, Zhang Tianfu had already killed the monster, directly dropping 10 items. Seeing this scene, Zhang Fong couldn't help but gasp, even more shocked than Lu Zhan's sword just now. Before this, he had already killed 2 monsters and only dropped 7 items. What the hell was going on? It suddenly dropped 10 items? See, this is my little brother. I'm the Human Emperor, and I've given him the Human Emperor buff. His luck is directly full. Lu Zhan was talking nonsense. Anyway, he was the strongest, and he had the final say. Zhang Fong was silent for a moment. This guy was indeed terrifyingly strong, but looking at him, how did it feel? Like he wasn't all there? After thinking about it, he still said directly, I'm sorry, I'm still used to being alone. Being a lone wolf was tiring. But past experiences had made Zhang Fong dare not easily trust anyone. Rather than being betrayed, it was better to be a little tired and a little bitter. This was also the mentality of a large number of strong people. There was no way. The apocalypse showed the ugliness of human nature to the fullest. If you said that you had never suffered betrayal or anything, you would be embarrassed to say that you had fought your way out in the apocalypse. Okay, if you regret it, you can come to the undead kingdom at any time. Just say my name. Lu Zhan was also straightforward. If people didn't want to, he wouldn't force them. Generally speaking, he was still a very friendly and very civilized person. He didn't like things like forcing a man to stay. Zhang Fong was also a little surprised. He had even prepared to die to show his will. In the end, was that it? Wouldn't there be any threats or anything? Okay, Afu, let's go. Lu Zhan picked up all the spheres, called out, and prepared to take off. But at this moment, dust flew up in the distance. A heavy motorcycle with an extremely exaggerated and domineering shape roared over. Lu Zhan and Zhang Tianfu, who were about to leave, stopped at the same time, looking over there, widening their eyes, looking unbelievable. Aside, Zhang Fong was also quite shocked. The expression on his face was complicated. They weren't shocked by the car, but shocked by the person on the car. With an old face, white hair, a long beard, and a weak body. Such an old man who looked like he was going to fall while walking was riding a heavy motorcycle, and the speed was ridiculously fast. This scene, no matter how you looked at it, was a strange painting style. Nah. National Preceptor. Zhang Tianfu stuttered. In the Undead Kingdom, the National Preceptor was a super sage who was admired and friendly. He never thought that he would have such a side. That's right. The person who came was Huang Shengren. This old man was really good at playing. Lu Zhan couldn't help but complain in his heart. After a moment, they only heard a very urgent brake. The motorcycle stopped steadily in front of Lu Zhan and the others. Your Highness the Human Emperor, what a coincidence. He happened to be not far away and sensed the blood-colored sword energy. It was so terrifying. Who else could it be besides Lu Zhan? So he came directly. In front of outsiders, Huang Shengren still gave Lu Zhan the face of a human emperor. Hmph, you old man, you're playing hard. Lu Zhan said. Haha, there's no way. I don't have any space. There's no way to put that crane Indiana. Huang Shengren got off the car, saying with a smile. You also know, I'm an old man, and my legs and feet aren't convenient. It's easy to get tired from walking, so I thought riding a car was pretty good. He was able to put this heavy motorcycle in, so it seemed that the old man's storage equipment space was not small. I have seen the National Preceptor. Zhang Tianfu quickly stepped forward and said. Aside, Zhang Fong also saluted with respect. I have seen Elder Huang. Huang Shengren's prestige was extremely high. As long as they weren't those who were evil and ruthless, they were quite respectful to him. You should be Zhang Fong, right? Huang Shengren nodded, looking at Zhang Fong. That's right. Elder Huang also knows me? Zhang Fong felt that his face had light. You used a divine spear to fight 3 heroic-level monsters. This video has more than 100,000 likes on the forum. Of course I know. Huang Shengren praised him again before saying, Zhang Fong, join my undead kingdom. How about it? Now this apocalypse seems to have stabilized, but the monsters above the heroic level have not yet descended. Our human race must unite to fight against the real apocalypse. Zhang Fong thought for a while, and then said directly, Elder Huang has invited me. How can I have a reason to refuse? Huang Shengren looked at Lu Zhan with a smile, and his expression seemed to be saying, See? This is called personal charm. Chapter 169. I'm only bringing my little sister. Damn it. Lu Zhan cursed inwardly. Although his fame was about the same as Huang Shengren's, he had to admit that in terms of prestige, the two were not even in the same league. Welcome Zhang Gunshan to my undead kingdom. Lu Zhan was cursing his mother internally, but he put on a smiling face and said to Zhang Fong, regardless of what else, as the human emperor, he had to maintain appearances. Thank you. Zhang Fong was clearly a little reserved. All right, let's go. Lao Zhang, do you have transportation? Lu Zhan asked directly, without being polite. No. Zhang Fong shook his head. Not only did he not have storage equipment, but even if he did, it wouldn't have occurred to him to put a motorcycle inside. Lu Zhan looked at Huang Shengren's motorcycle, but the old man shook his head directly, saying, Sorry, I'm only bringing my little sister. He muttered a string of insults under his breath. Disrespectful to elders, degenerate, cunning, taking advantage of his age, shameless. Old man. After cursing a bunch in his heart, Lu Zhan finally managed to calm himself down and summoned another demon undead. Lao Zhang, let this thing carry you. You don't mind, right? Nearby, Zhang Tianfu jumped directly onto the demon undead's back, demonstrating. This thing looks a little ugly, but it's very safe. Zhang Fong's face was a little unnatural, but he still climbed on. If the other party wanted to kill him, it would be a matter of minutes. Why bother with all this? Let's go, take off. Lu Zhan flapped his wings directly. Lao Huang, you'll have to keep up on the ground. This old man liked riding his motorcycle, so let him ride. 5 minutes later, Huang Shengren was shocked when he saw the 10 orbs on the demon corpse. He circled Zhang Tianfu, looking him up and down. He knew a lot, but he wasn't omniscient. He really didn't know about Zhang Tianfu having this ability. Good grief. This was a son of fortune. Let's go, let's go. Hurry up and find the next one. Don't let someone else kill it. That's a waste. A blatant waste. Huang Shengren instantly had the same thought as Lu Zhan. That was to sweep up all the demons in this secret realm. Zhang Fong also became excited. Putting aside everything else, following a team like this meant he didn't have to worry about equipment, right? But at this moment, a tornado suddenly swept towards them, with countless feather blades mixed in. It looked like anyone caught in it would be maimed or killed. Heh, looks like someone wants to kill and steal, Lu Zhan said with a smile, not caring about the tornado at all. In a place like this, things like this were probably common. If I'm not mistaken, it should be an onmyoji from the Sakura country. Huang Shengren raised his staff and waved it towards the tornado. In an instant, an even bigger and more terrifying tornado swept out from his staff, instantly swallowing the feather blade tornado. Onmyoji? A hidden class? This was the first time Lu Zhan had heard of that. That's right. Huang Shengren pointed into the distance, where a figure was fleeing in panic. Clearly, Huang Shengren's attack had scared him. Behind this person, a white-robed figure floated, also bearing a pair of black wings. Look, that thing is the Onmyoji Shikigami, the Great Tengu. The one from just now was the Great Tengu's skill, Feather Blade Storm. Huang Shengren said. Lao Huang, you know a lot. You've studied the Sakura country stuff quite a bit, huh? Lu Zhan summoned number 1, and with a thought, number 1's figure disappeared. Hee, what aspect are you referring to? Hearing this, Huang Shengren immediately wore an excited expression. Zhang Fong's jaw dropped, and he felt the great image of the sage in his heart about to collapse. Lu Zhan wasn't surprised. This degenerate old man definitely deserved the title of LSP, lustful scum pervert. Of course, that aspect. Which aspect is that aspect? It's that aspect. Oh, it's that aspect. Yes, that aspect. Just then, even Zhang Tianfu couldn't take it anymore, and he roared, Enough! If the author keeps watering this down, the readers are going to send blades. Referencing a common online joke about readers sending blades to authors who write poorly. As soon as he finished speaking, they saw that number 1 had already returned to Lu Zhan's side, holding the Onmyoji. The Onmyoji knelt down directly and said a bunch of gibberish. Although they couldn't understand, the meaning was clear. He surrendered. Sorry, dogs aren't qualified to be my underlings. After Lu Zhan finished speaking, he brought his sword down. Head. Fell. Brother Jia. He dropped 3 things. Haha, and a blue ring. Good luck. Huluer picked up the orbs from the demon corpse and said excitedly. Currently in the market, rings were almost the best-selling equipment, because a person could only wear 1 piece of armor and hold 1 weapon. But they could wear 10 rings, 1 on each finger. So in the trading house, as long as there were rings, they would be snapped up immediately. After entering this secret realm, Huluer quickly met Jia Zhang, and the two naturally traveled together. Jia Zhang was responsible for killing enemies, and Huluer was responsible for picking up items. Jia Zhang pulled the blood blade from the demon's head and nodded lightly. For him, a blood blade was enough to sweep the world, and he didn't really care about equipment. Let's go, keep searching. Drop more equipment. Brother Lu should need it, Jia Zhang said. However, before the two could act, a terrifying aura swept over from the distant sky. In an instant, Jia Zhang's expression became solemn, and he calmly said, Luer, you escape first. I'll hold them off. This aura was too vast, too terrifying. In an instant, Jia Zhang had already judged it as invincible. Huluer also had a solemn expression, but he didn't say anything. Although they hadn't known each other for long, Jia Zhang was already a good brother in his heart. Escape alone? Impossible. They saw in the sky. Dozens of terrifying-looking demons were flapping their wings, flying rapidly. This was a kind of demon Jia Zhang had never seen before. If you looked at their appearance, they seemed like devils from movies. You'd know their power was definitely insane. But the strangest thing was, behind each of these demons, there was a person. What was going on? Brother Lu, it's Brother Lu. Brother Jia, that's Brother Lu. Just then, Huluer pointed to the sky and shouted excitedly. Jia Zhang took a closer look and saw that among the group of terrifying demons, there was a golden figure, flapping its wings. Although there was some distance, and the equipment was completely different, that face, who else could it be but Lu Zhan? In an instant, Jia Zhang relaxed. It was that man. Then everything made sense. In the sky, Lu Zhan naturally also discovered the existence of Jia Zhang and Huluer, and directly directed the demon army towards the ground. And on the ground, A motorcycle roared in. As soon as Huang Shengren arrived, he saw the corpses of demons that had already died on the ground, and immediately pointed at Jia Zhang and the two and started berating them. What a waste of resources. Who told you to kill the demons? Chapter 170. The Wuju Swordsman. Jia Zhang and Hu Luer were dumbfounded. What was going on? Were they not allowed to kill demons? Although they didn't understand the situation, Hu Luer didn't dare to complain at all and could only say weakly, "National Preceptor." As for Jia Zhang, he frowned but didn't say anything. After a while, Lu Zhan and others had also landed. From behind each demon, a person jumped down. These people were all strong players recruited by Lu Zhan. No, by Huang Shengren, a full 40 or so. Lu Zhan had to admit. This old man Huang Shengren really had some influence, and he was incredibly good at deceiving people. Even those who didn't agree at first could be persuaded in a matter of minutes. The strength of these people didn't need to be said. Several of them were heavenly kings and divine generals from the previous life. As for the demons, he didn't know how many he had killed along the way. Of course, each one had to be dealt with by Zhang Tianfu. At this moment, inside Lu Zhan's world ring, the loot had reached more than 1,000, which was ridiculously exaggerated. If he released them, they could fill a villa, and it would probably cause a global frenzy. Not only that, but he also collected all the corpses of those brave demons, which he could use to feed the mutated beasts later. Brother Lu, you've come in too. Seeing Lu Zhan, Jia Zhang quickly stepped forward and said, unlike others, in this world, he only respected one person, Lu Zhan. Even Huang Shengren was just an old man in his eyes. He gave him face only because of Lu Zhan. Brother Jia, you're talking nonsense. With Brother Lu's strength, how could he not come in? Hu Luer said with a smile. All right, let's go together. We've almost swept through that area. Let's continue forward. Lu Zhan nodded and said, this secret realm was quite big, and he estimated that there was still a large half waiting for him to explore. And so, Lu Zhan took off again, followed by the demon army. Only Huang Shengren, an old man, was riding his motorcycle, chasing madly below. Half an hour later, on the ground, Zhang Tianfu was holding a broadsword, hacking at a demon, one slash at a time. Lao Zhou, what do you say? How many do you think he'll drop this time? Hee, I'll bet 10. No, I think it'll be 12. What's the highest record? I think it was 13, right? It's 13. I'm betting this time he'll break the record. Anyone else want to bet? I'll bet 10,000 gold coins. Around them, a circle of people was watching with great interest as Heavenly General Tianfu hacked at the demon. These people were the ones who had come with Lu Zhan, a full 40 or so. The strong players they encountered along the way were all killed if they dared to fight, and those who didn't fight were all deceived by Huang Shengren, leaving no one behind. Lu Zhan stood not far away, looking at this group of people, and he was quite moved. Now this secret realm had almost become Lu Zhan's private territory, not allowing the existence of any other forces. But the only pity was, there wasn't a single human emperor from the previous life among these people. Of the 8 human emperors, Lu Zhan had already killed 3 and subdued 2, which meant there were still 3 roaming outside. He wondered if any of them had entered this secret realm. While thinking, he suddenly heard a burst of cheers from the crowd. Broken it. He really broke it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15. A full 15. Holy crap. I can't drop that many even if I kill 5. What a ripoff. It is worthy of being Tianfu General. This good fortune is almost overflowing. Where is Human Emperor? He's about to collect the spoils. The people who were originally crowded around consciously made way for a path. They had dropped 15, which surprised Lu Zhan. He walked over and picked them up one by one. There was even a piece of red equipment, a big harvest. Just as he had finished picking up the items, Lu Zhan suddenly felt a movement in his heart and turned to look in the southwest direction. As a sword master, he was very sensitive to things like sword energy. Just now, there was a very strong sword energy fluctuation over there. Huang Shengren also looked moved. Obviously, he also felt it and looked at Lu Zhan and said, if I'm not mistaken, that person over there should be Sun Yin. How is it? Are you tempted? Sword Emperor Sun Yin. Lu Zhan's eyes lit up. The emperor had finally arrived. He had to take him down and quickly said, Let's go, let's go. I'll go first. The distance of the sword energy was probably not far, and if he went late, the person might disappear. After finishing speaking, directly summoned number 1, who carried him and disappeared in place instantly. Number 1's speed was the fastest, and in his ear, the voice of Huang Shengren was still echoing. That guy is a real swordsman. Relying on me to conquer him won't work. You can only rely on the sword. 3 minutes later, a battle appeared in front of Zhan. A yellow-green figure kept flashing by, like lightning. Its speed was so fast that even Zhan couldn't see clearly. The demon was like a wooden stake, roaring constantly, launching attacks constantly, but couldn't touch even a corner of the opponent's clothes. Sword wounds kept appearing on its body. And next to the battle, a demon corpse was already lying. Good guy. This Sun Yin was fighting two at once. The sword that had just exploded was obviously used to kill the other one. Zhan watched the show while the information of this sword emperor appeared in his mind. Sun Yin, hidden class Wuju swordsman. The sword emperor. The idol of all sword-based professionals. This guy was good at fast swordsmanship and was known as the fastest man in the world. After a while, the yellow-green figure flashed to the side, revealing the appearance of a middle-aged man, and then slowly put away the sword and turned around. And behind him, only a series of boom, 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 boom explosions continued to sound. The next second, the demon collapsed with a bang, its body already riddled with holes. A real man never looks back at an explosion. What a pretentious person. A sense of crisis rose in Zhan's heart. This guy threatened his position as the king of pretense. Zhangbiwang, a Chinese internet slang term. Brother, is it good? Sun Yin didn't go to take the spoils, but looked in the direction of Zhan and said lightly. The moment Zhan arrived, he sensed it. Haha, quite good, Sun Yin. How about a fight? Zhan took out Blood Elegy and pointed it directly at the other party. Said. Huang Shengren said that to conquer this guy, he had to use a sword. Purely relying on swordsmanship, Zhan thought he was inferior to this Sun Yin. But there was no way. His stats were here. Sun Yin was fast. He could be faster than Sun Yin. Hee, interesting. A strong fighting spirit appeared in Sun Yin's eyes. Before the end of the world, he was a sword-using martial arts master, and he had even won the National Sword Championship. After the end of the world, he directly awakened the hidden class Wuju swordsman, which could be regarded as God's will. His understanding of swords combined with this profession was far from as simple as 1 + 1. Someone dared to point a sword at him. How could he not fight? Okay, Sun Yin, let's see if you're fast or I'm fast. Zhan laughed, and his figure disappeared in place. With a clang, Sun Yin instantly raised his sword and blocked it to the side. A harsh sound rang out. Chapter 171, Eye of Space. Pretty fast, but not fast enough, Zhan declared, simultaneously twisting his wrist, redirecting his sword to pierce the opponent's throat. Naturally, he couldn't go all out, or Sun Yin wouldn't be able to block this strike. If the other was fast, he would defeat them in speed. However, in the next instant, his sword was blocked once more, and Sun Yin's voice echoed in his ear. You're fast too. Quite remarkable at such a young age. I can be even faster. Heh, what's the rush when you're young? As they spoke, the clashing of swords resounded continuously in the air. After a few exchanges, neither gained the upper hand. Zhan remained unfazed, saying as he continued to wield his sword, I only used 50% of my strength just now. I'll be using 80% next. Be careful. As the words left his mouth, his sword became several times faster. Sun Yin's expression shifted. He could no longer see clearly, relying solely on instinct to block. A clang rang out. He had blocked it. However, before he could celebrate, a pain shot through his arm, a sword mark appearing seemingly from nowhere. Zhan sheathed his sword, took half a step back, and said calmly, What do you say? Want to continue? His agility was almost at 10,000. Compete in speed? Could there be anyone in this world faster than him? Sun Yin was silent for a moment before sheathing his own sword. He knew that his opponent's speed far surpassed his own, and there was no point in wasting time. He simply asked, Speak. What do you want me to do? This guy wouldn't come here just to compete in speed for no reason. Sun Yin, join my undead nation. What do you say? I'll make you the fastest man alive, Lu Zhan said directly. No problem, Sun Yin replied. A person in Jianghu, the martial arts world, was straightforward and didn't need to be polite. Conquering his sword was akin to conquering him. As soon as he finished speaking, the roar of a motorcycle came howling toward them. Huang Shengren had arrived. Haha, Sun Yin, I didn't expect you to finally come to me. After the apocalypse, Sun Yin had often done acts of chivalry, never asking for anything in return, truly embodying the word hero. Huang Shengren naturally admired him and had extended an olive branch long ago. Unfortunately, this guy was stubborn and insisted on defeating him in swordsmanship first. Huang Shengren, a master of all forbidden spells, was helpless in this regard. Greetings, Elder Huang, Sun Yin said in respectful greeting. No need to be polite. You're one of us now. Let's go, continue on our journey, and finish clearing this secret realm as soon as possible. The next day, when Lu Zhan saw the corpse of the Card Emperor in the valley, he finally confirmed that he had completely cleared this secret realm. Behind him stood over 100 people, all strong individuals he had recruited. Of the humans who had entered the secret realm, there were probably only 200 or 300. Most were here, and some had been killed by Lu Zhan. Perhaps a few were hiding in some corner, but there was no need to look for them. Unfortunately, the other 2 human sovereigns weren't found. They probably hadn't entered this secret realm. That was natural. This was the first time the secret realm had opened, and most humans didn't know about it yet. Getting a token depended partly on strength and partly on luck. Brother Lu, what do we do now? This secret realm doesn't seem to have an exit. We'll have to wait until the time runs out, but who knows how long that will be? Zhang Tianfu asked, standing beside Lu Zhan. Lu Zhan looked at Huang Shengren. He didn't know much about secret realms. He needed to ask this old man. As expected, Huang Shengren pretended to calculate for a while before saying, if my calculations are correct, the secret realm should be open for 3 days. In this secret realm, most of the brave monsters came from mid-level or higher races, and there were even many high-level monsters. Originally, with the strength of normal humans, it would have been impossible to kill all the monsters in 3 days. Who knew that Lu Zhan, an existence far beyond the current version, had appeared, as if he were cheating, clearing all the monsters in a day and a night. Hearing this, Lu Zhan frowned. 2 more days. What was he going to do? Soon, Lu Zhan thought of 2 words. Dividing the spoils. In his world ring, all kinds of equipment were piled up like mountains, and all kinds of props were scattered on the ground, countless. Everyone, move aside a bit, Lu Zhan said, waving his hand to the crowd. When everyone had made some space, Lu Zhan thought. In the next second, only the sound of whirring could be heard. A large amount of equipment appeared out of thin air in the open space, instantly piling up like a mountain. Instantly, the scene fell silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the mountain of equipment, their breathing growing heavy. In this situation, no one could remain calm. Only the old man Huang Shengren could remain calm and composed. For him, nothing was more important than saving the human race. Lu Zhan glanced at the crowd. These people were greedy, but they could still maintain their sanity and didn't directly try to snatch anything. Along the way, Lu Zhan had proven with his strength and actions that in front of him, there should be no bad behavior, or you would die. National Advisor, you arrange these equipment. After giving the instructions, Lu Zhan took off directly and flew to the top of a small hill. This equipment could already be considered strategic materials, and it was most appropriate to give it to Huang Shengren to handle. As for how to distribute it, he couldn't be bothered. Even if Huang Shengren swallowed it all up, that was his business. Below, Huang Shengren had already instructed Zhang Tianfu and others to classify all the equipment by level, piece by piece. This process was long and boring, but no one was impatient. Since Lu Zhan had taken it out to divide on the spot, the meaning was clear. Finders keepers, everyone present had a chance to get 1 or 2 pieces. Lu Zhan watched for a while before looking away. Instead, he took something out of his world ring. A necklace. Also the most precious thing in this secret realm. Black equipment. Lu Zhan could say with extreme confidence that this was definitely the only piece of black equipment in the world right now. I have space. Black. Equipment requirements. Level 20. Spirit 500. Agility 500. Spirit plus 1000. Agility plus 1000. Constitution plus 800. Space cutting. Passive skill. After wearing it, all damage-type skills will have a space-cutting effect. Flash. Can flash arbitrarily within 500 meters. Cooldown time is 10 seconds. Slow space. Form a slow space within 100 meters, reducing the enemy's movement and attack speed by 50%, lasting for 1 minute. Cooldown time is 1 hour. What an overbearing effect, worthy of being black equipment. The attributes are not something Zhan can care about much right now, but all 3 skills are bug level. The first one has not been tested, but space cutting, just hearing the name knows that the damage must be abnormal. The second flash does not need to be said. You must know that this is not something that can be done with fast speed, but directly crosses from one space to another. For example, if there is a wall in front of you, no matter how fast you can ignore it, you must hit the wall. But flash is different. This skill is a divine skill for both offense and defense. Chapter 172. Opening the mystery box. After admiring it carefully, Zhan put on the Eye of Space. Subsequently, with a thought, the figure disappeared directly in place and appeared on another mountain top, truly silently. Zhan suppressed his excitement, and his consciousness looked into the world ring. There was still a pile of things piled up, reward mystery boxes, nearly 1,000. Next, it's time to open the mystery box. He has only one goal. That is Deathwing. He had asked the undead priest if that undead monarch could reward him with all the remaining fragments. The answer he got was no, because the monarch didn't know where the remaining fragments were either. The monarch obviously didn't need to lie to him about this kind of thing, but he gave him a direction. That is to open the mystery box. According to the undead priest, these mystery box-like things are the work of a god of luck. After opening, items will be randomly drawn from the entire universe. So theoretically speaking, as long as something exists, it can be opened, as long as you open it enough and your luck is heaven-defying enough. Of course, theory is theory. The probability of this thing bursting out is already ridiculously low. Do you still want to open a golden legend level item? The probability is basically 0. Even black equipment, the probability is low enough to be despairing. In the previous life, so much time has passed, and I have only heard of one person who opened black equipment. That is the heavenly blessing god general. Only this man with great luck can grasp the ridiculously low probability. And this time, if Zhan wants to open Deathwing's fragments, he naturally has to rely on this heavenly blessing god general. So, Zhan directly shouted downwards, "Afu, come up." "Here I come, Brother Liu." Zhang Tianfu, who was originally looking forward to dividing the equipment, immediately climbed up. Even if he was given golden equipment, it was not as important as Brother Liu. "Brother Liu, what's the matter? Help me open the boxes." Zhan directly took out all the boxes, piled them up on the mountain top, and then took out a piece of Deathwing's fragment and said, "You just think about opening Deathwing's fragment. It's this thing. Remember, be sincere. There are more than 1,000 here. If you can't open it, hum, I'll punish you for not being able to eat for 3 days." "Don't worry, Brother Liu." Zhang Tianfu grinned. So much time has passed, he naturally knows his luck. Brother Liu asked him to open it. That's a great trust in him. How could he let Brother Liu down? "Then Brother Liu, I'll start?" "Well, start." Zhan nodded. Zhang Tianfu sat down directly and opened the first mystery box. The reward is to choose equipment and then silently think about Deathwing in his heart. In the next second, a purple item appeared in his hand. Although it is not a fragment of Deathwing, the first one is purple. This is definitely a good sign. The second one, blue equipment. The third one, blue equipment. The 48th, purple equipment. The 73rd, purple equipment. The 100th, blue equipment. After 100 in a row, no fragments were opened. Zhang Tianfu looked at Zhan with a guilty look in his eyes. "It's okay. Continue to open. Relax a little. Don't have so much pressure." Zhan said with a smile. 3 purples out of 100 is already extremely heaven-defying luck. As for the Deathwing fragment, you can't force it. You can only go with the flow. Zhang Tianfu nodded, took a deep breath, and opened the 101st. A black fragment gradually lay in the palm of his hand. Oh, Liu brother. Oh, opened." Zhang Tianfu trembled and handed the thing up and said, "Haha. Good job, Afu." Lu Zhan was also extremely excited. Good fellow. He actually opened it. Could it be? Deathwing. Is today. Quick, continue to open. Half an hour later. In the valley, Huang Shengren had already instructed several people to classify all the equipment. A total of 5 red equipment, 235 purple equipment, 1148 blue equipment, and 879 green equipment. As for the whiteboards, dropping whiteboard equipment is an insult to the heavenly blessing god general. Huang Shengren first put away the 5 red equipment. This kind of top-quality stuff is naturally impossible to share here. Everyone dared not say anything. Even purple equipment was enough to drive them crazy. And there are more than 200 pieces of purple equipment here. And there are only more than 100 people. That is, everyone can get at least 1 piece of purple equipment. Huang Shengren glanced around, and then said lightly, Jiazhang, you are the first. Pick one here. On the top of the mountain, Zhang Tianfu has opened 345 mystery boxes, but the second fragment has not been opened yet. Lu Zhan was not in a hurry. In order to avoid giving him too much pressure, he simply sat down and leaned on a rock, closed his eyes and rested, completely letting go of himself. I don't know how long it has passed. Lu Zhan suddenly heard Zhang Tianfu's extremely excited voice. Brother Lu, it's out again. Very good. Lu Zhan took the fragment. So, there are only 3 pieces left. At this time, he relaxed instead. What is his will always be his. What is not his is useless to force. This is a philosophy. Although Lu Zhan seemed not to care, Zhang Tianfu did not dare to relax in the slightest. His nerves were all tense. At the moment, nearly half of the mystery boxes have been opened, but only 2 fragments have been opened. Zhang Tianfu is under great pressure, and even the speed of opening the mystery boxes has slowed down. The 762nd, red equipment, what kind of spicy garbage? Zhang Tianfu threw this thing aside like throwing garbage. The 829th, a black fragment finally appeared. Zhang Tianfu did not alarm Lu Zhan. He decided to open all of them and give Brother Lu a surprise. At this time, the sky has slowly darkened. In the valley, the division of spoils has come to an end. Huang Shengren took out several monster corpses, and several fire-type professionals began to barbecue. Although it is not as fragrant as a chef, it is still edible. After all, it is the end of the world. Everyone is not so particular. In less than 3 minutes, bursts of burnt aroma have filled the valley. Huang Shengren also knows how to enjoy, and there are several barrels of wine hidden in the storage space. Naturally, they are also taken out. For a time, more than 100 people were eating barbecue, drinking wine. Some were talking loudly, some were singing loudly, and some were sleeping soundly. These people can definitely be considered strong in the end of the world, but they still maintain vigilance every moment and dare not relax in the slightest. Because the enemies of mankind are not only monsters, but also other human beings. But at this moment, everyone actually unloaded their minds and relaxed as never before. Of course, it doesn't mean that they believe in each other. But in front of the 2 great gods, Lu Zhan and Huang Shengren, no one dares to have any crooked thoughts. In this special environment, a group of people actually open their hearts rarely. However, the excitement below does not affect the atmosphere on the top of the mountain in the slightest. Lu Zhan is still sitting still. Zhang Tianfu is still opening mystery boxes. At this time, it seems that everyone he opens is extremely difficult, and beside him, a large number of equipment is piled up like a mountain again. Fragment. There are still 2 pieces missing, and there are less than 100 mystery boxes left. Chapter 173, Death Comes. More than 1,000 mystery boxes, opened 3 fragments. Then, in less than 100 left, opened 2. To be honest, Zhang Tianfu has begun to lose heart. But after glanced at Lu Zhan, he quickly cheered up again and secretly cheered himself up in his heart. Zhang Tianfu, who are you? You are the heavenly blessing god general. Believe in yourself, you can do it. After regaining his spirit, Zhang Tianfu opened the mystery box again. 1, 2, 350. Zhang Tianfu's body shook, and the long-awaited black fragment finally appeared in his palm again. There is only the last one left. Zhang Tianfu looked at the remaining 43 mystery boxes, and without hesitation, opened them again. Aside. Although Lu Zhan closed his eyes, he accurately sensed when each fragment appeared. So, there is one last piece left. The originally calm heart became excited again. This tormenting time seemed to pass particularly slowly. Lu Zhan even started counting sheep in his heart. When he counted to 2,394 sheep, Lu Zhan stood up abruptly, hugged Zhang Tianfu's face, and kissed him. "Afu, you are so awesome." I saw that in Zhang Tianfu's palm, the last black fragment was lying. Zhang Tianfu's face suddenly turned red, and he handed all the remaining 3 fragments to Lu Zhan. "Lu, brother Lu, finally I didn't let you down?" Looking at the big man's appearance, Lu Zhan was startled in his heart. Is this guy crooked and has some improper thoughts about himself? "That's not okay," Lu Zhan quickly said. "Afu, I was just too excited just now. You don't want to think nonsense." "Haha, brother Lu, what are you talking about?" "Haha, brother Lu, you were so joking," Zhang Tianfu quickly said with a smile. "Okay, that's good." Lu Zhan nodded and took the fragment. In an instant, the system's voice sounded in my mind. "Dip, it is detected that Deathwing's fragments have been collected. Do you want to synthesize them?" "Synthesize?" Lu Zhan said these 2 words with some excitement. In the next second, all the fragments originally placed in the storage space flew out and combined with the 3 pieces in Lu Zhan's hand. Zhang Tianfu shivered and said tremblingly, "Lu, brother Lu, why do I feel so cold?" With his current physique, even if he put his bare arms in the North Pole, he couldn't feel cold. However, as soon as Zhang Tianfu finished speaking, he felt an even more terrifying aura erupt from Lu Zhan's hand, making his eyes full of terror, and his mind almost collapsed directly. "Quick, go down quickly," Lu Zhan said with some difficulty. "This death aura is too strong, so strong that he can't bear it. Zhang Tianfu is so close. If he continues to stay, there is only one ending. That is to be scared to death." Zhang Tianfu didn't dare to talk nonsense in the slightest and ran down the valley in a panic. In the valley, the people who were still reveling all felt the abnormality. "Hey, what's going on? Why do I feel so cold?" "Brother, haha, I said you mages are physically weak, haha. Why do I feel cold too? Strange, my 1,000 plus physique can still feel cold. What the hell is going on? I feel like I'm going to die. Everyone pay attention to defense. A strong man is coming." In the dark night, everyone didn't notice Lu Zhan on the top of the mountain. They only felt a terrifying death aura pressing down from the sky as if covering the sky and covering the earth. Not long. Several people have begun to tremble, their faces full of fear. They held weapons, their expressions tense, but they couldn't find where the enemy was. If they continued, they were afraid that they would fall into madness sooner or later and attack the people around them indiscriminately. At the critical moment, Huang Shengren's roar pulled everyone's nerves back. "Everyone, leave this place, hurry," Huang Shengren said with a serious expression and shouted. This sound also included the forbidden spell, Devil's Sound. Otherwise, he would not be able to pull everyone back from the fear of death. This kid, he doesn't even know how to notify him in advance when he does such a big thing. He naturally saw when Lu Zhan and Zhang Tianfu were doing weird things on the mountain. Opening boxes. It is normal for Zhang Tianfu, the heavenly blessing god, to go up and open them. But who knows this kid will get this thing? Such a terrifying movement. The thing that this kid made is afraid that it has exceeded the scope of equipment. "Damn, give me trouble," Huang Shengren scolded, and with a wave of his hand, directly let the agility of all the people in the valley increase by 50%. "What are you grinding here? Do you want to die? Run away quickly," Huang Shengren shouted again. Everyone finally moved and fled this death valley at the fastest speed. After escaping more than 1,000 meters, the fear from the bottom of their hearts dissipated from their hearts. Everyone was still in shock and looked in the direction of the valley. I saw that there. It was already shrouded in black mist, and nothing could be seen. Is it a monster? What monster? Elder Huang, this? Brother Lu seems to have not come out yet. Yeah, where's Brother Lu? A group of people were talking. Shut up, be quiet. Huang Shengren shouted loudly. Don't look at his usual amiability and kindness. Once he gets angry, it is like thunderous roar. After shouting at everyone, Huang Shengren looked at the valley, his eyes also worried. Things that surpass equipment often have a spirit. If you can't resist, then you will be directly swallowed by the spirit, and at that time, Lu Zhan will no longer be Lu Zhan, but become the slave of that thing. Jia Zheng's blood sword is somewhat similar. However, the spirit in his blood sword is too weak to completely devour Jia Zheng's consciousness. On the top of the mountain, Lu Zhan's expression was hideous, and cold sweat all over his body kept Malchulai like rainwater. Just now, the death wing, which had just been synthesized, rushed directly into his body, and then rampaged inside. His soul ached, as if bitten by 10,000 ants. His back was tearing, as if something wanted to grow out. This double pain of body and soul made him fall into hell, and he couldn't even faint. Painful? Give up, give up. As long as you give up, you won't be painful. Sleep. As long as you sleep, everything will be over. Let me help you spread death all over the world. They betrayed you, hurt you, insulted you. Now you have to pay it all back. Pay it back in the way of death. You summon me? Isn't it just to ask me to help you? Why resist? Sentences sounded in Lu Zhan's heart, like the whispers of a devil. The various things of the past and present life constantly flashed back and forth in his mind. Those bullying, those injuries, those betrayals. Yes, I want revenge. Revenge on this world. Let death completely come to this world. Chapter 174. Invincible. In an instant, Lu Zhan's eyes turned pitch black, an even denser aura of death radiating from his body, and his consciousness grew increasingly violent. Kill. Demons, humans. He would kill them all. Brother. Just then, a tiny voice suddenly echoed in his heart. Brother, what's wrong? Does it hurt? Here's a lollipop. It won't hurt if you eat a lollipop. This is my last lollipop. Here, brother. Eat it quickly. Amidst the rubble, Lu Zhan had just used all his strength to kill a demon and lay on the ground, covered in wounds, gasping for breath. And in the ruins, there was a mother and daughter. The mother looked at Lu Zhan with a wary yet grateful gaze. If not for Lu Zhan, they would have long become food for the demons. But the little girl broke free from her mother's embrace and ran to Lu Zhan's side, holding a lollipop in her hand. She was a 5 or 6-year-old girl, her face covered in dirt and grime, her clothes tattered and torn, but her eyes were still so pure. The apocalypse had ravaged her body, but never touched her soul. Thank you, Lu Zhan said with difficulty, taking the lollipop. Slowly, he peeled off the wrapper and put it in his mouth. A rich sweetness burst in his mouth, flowing down his throat, into his heart. At that moment, the pain throughout his body seemed to vanish, leaving only warmth and sweetness. It was the happiest moment Lu Zhan had felt in the apocalypse, a memory he forever kept in his heart. Recalling that moment, a smile appeared on Lu Zhan's face. The pain in his soul and body seemed to disappear completely. Was this world dark? Yes, it was dark. But in the darkness, there was still a glimmer of light, trying its best to shine. Lu Zhan wanted to find that glimmer of light, something incredibly precious, and he would never allow the darkness to devour it. I'm in control of my own destiny. You don't get to interfere and tell me what to do. Lu Zhan roared. His soul roared as well, instantly devouring the thing that had entered his body. A pair of black wings burst from his back, as if they had always been a part of him. His eyes cleared again, his soul becoming stronger. Lu Zhan opened his arms and took a deep breath. All the aura of death was absorbed into his body. He felt a power like never before. Barren, gray, white bones, death. This was the world of the undead, a forbidden zone for the living. And floating in the sky of this world was a massive palace. This was the palace of the Lord of this world, the undead monarch. Upon the throne, a figure sat motionless, having been there for who knows how long. The figure was shrouded in a haze of black mist, making it impossible for anyone to see clearly. Suddenly, the figure trembled, causing the entire palace, the entire undead world, to tremble as well. The figure opened its eyes, seeming to pierce through the world, to see the person with the black wings. Those once lifeless, ashen eyes suddenly released a glimmer of hope. Perhaps there truly was hope. The secret realm. Atop the mountain, Lu Zhan had finally calmed down. He looked at the wings behind him with lingering fear. This thing had grown on his back. Wouldn't that make him a birdman? After a moment's thought, Lu Zhan focused his mind, and with a whoosh, the black wings behind him instantly retracted into his body. From the outside, there were almost no visible signs. Next, whoosh whoosh whoosh, Lu Zhan repeatedly retracted and extended his wings, smoothly and without a hitch, and he felt no pain or discomfort. What was this? Lu Zhan was somewhat bewildered. Equipment growing inside the body was unheard of. Was this how all golden god-tier equipment worked? Then, Lu Zhan looked at the wings of death behind him. Nothing happened. No name, no attributes, nothing at all. Looking at his stats, they were unchanged from before. Lu Zhan's intuition wasn't wrong. Since growing these wings, his strength had increased by more than double. But there was nothing reflected in his stats. This completely overturned the established rules of this world. It was as if he had broken the system. Lu Zhan stopped thinking about it. Since there were no changes in his stats, he would just have to test them out himself. The next moment, Lu Zhan's wings moved, and his figure instantly disappeared from the spot. So fast. Much faster than one's black dragon wings. Feeling the rushing wind, Lu Zhan was incredibly shocked. At this moment, he felt like he had become the wind. While flying, Lu Zhan drew the blood lament. Blood Fury Demon // Instantly, an energy of death surged from the wings, concentrating into the blood sword. The terrifying sword chi almost dyed the entire sky red. In the distance, those watching this scene were dumbfounded. What was that? Just looking at it from afar filled them with despair. Jia Zheng's face paled. The same Blood Fury Demon / His own felt like a small knife, while the other's was a sky-splitting demon blade. Huang Shengren's expression remained worried. It seemed he had succeeded, but he didn't know whether Lu Zhan had controlled the spirit, or the spirit had devoured Lu Zhan. Haha, awesome. Lu Zhan stopped in midair, laughing heartily. Strong, too strong. This could no longer be described as strong. It was invincible, truly invincible. Then, Lu Zhan moved his wings and flew to the top of Huang Shengren and the others' heads. Seeing Lu Zhan's eyes, Huang Shengren finally felt relieved. Fortunately, Lu Zhan was still the same Lu Zhan. The next moment, the old man directly knelt down, shouting loudly, "Greetings, human emperor." At this moment, everyone was shocked and in awe of this man's power. It was a great time to strengthen cohesion. Beside him, Zhang Tianfu and the others knelt down immediately, even though they didn't understand anything. The national preceptor had knelt. How could they not kneel? The others had already been mostly brainwashed by Huang Shengren. And now, seeing how terrifying their leader, the human emperor, was, a sense of pride arose in their hearts. With such a leader, their future would definitely be bright. Haha, everyone, get up, Lu Zhan said with a smile, slowly flying down and retracting the wings into his body upon landing. Old Huang, how is the equipment distribution going? Everyone has received 2 pieces. The rest will be distributed outside. There are still many people. Huang Shengren said, looking at Lu Zhan. The more he looked at this savior, the more he liked him. There was truly hope for the human race. Well, that's good. There's a lot more on the other mountain. Take it all with you. By the way, your storage space should be enough, right? Hee, of course it's enough. My space is very, very large. Huang Shengren nodded, smiling as he said, Chapter 175, Mutant Beast Siege. 3 days in the secret realm. 1 day for scavenging, 1 day for sharing the spoils. With 1 day left, it was naturally time for eating, drinking, and having fun. By the way, according to the days before the apocalypse, today seems to be New Year's, right? Is it? Haha, I've lost track of time. Calculating it like that, it really is New Year's Day. Happy New Year, everyone. Haha, Happy New Year. On this joyous occasion of the new year, allow me to perform a sword dance for everyone. The Sword Saint himself is performing for us, everyone. We are so lucky. After the Sword Saint's performance, I'll do some singing and dancing. Only singing and dancing? No rap? I won't approve of that. Haha, you've revealed your true colors, haven't you? Atop the mountain, Lu Zhan and Huang Shengren sat directly on the ground, watching the lively scene below. There's still a lot of good in humanity, isn't there? Huang Shengren said with a smile on his face. Perhaps. Lu Zhan said calmly. But do you really think I can save humanity? Even though I feel incredibly powerful right now? Compared to those so-called god-level beings, I am nothing. Huang Shengren clapped his hands, stood up and said, as long as you believe, miracles can happen. Why not come and join in the fun? It's New Year's after all. As the human emperor, it wouldn't be too much to give everyone a red envelope, would it? Lu Zhan also stood up, flew into the sky, and shouted loudly. New Year's gift, one piece of equipment for everyone. Go to the National Preceptor to claim it yourselves. That kid. Huang Shengren was speechless, a hint of a smile on his face. But then he was filled with worry. Was this a carnival before the end? The second phase was about to begin. If there were no Lu Zhan, the myriad races would still play along with the human race, just to show some compassion. But Lu Zhan's appearance directly broke this balance, so it was highly likely that the myriad races would tear off their masks. That is to say, the decisive battle concerning the human race was about to begin. By then, how many of these people would survive? Mount Tai. A flash of light streaked through the air, a figure appearing out of thin air. It was Lu Zhan. The secret realm ended, and he reappeared here. The gains from these 3 days were extraordinary. With a whoosh, Lu Zhan's wings of death instantly spread out, like a streak of black lightning, flying toward the direction of the undead city. Undead city, atop the city walls. Guan Hong looked at the outside of the city, covered in sweat. The pressure in his heart was immense. Outside the city, there was a dense mass of mutant beasts. Looking as far as the eye could see, there was no end in sight, probably no less than 10,000 beasts. With so many mutant beasts, how could the pressure not be great? And leading this group of mutant beasts were 3 terrifyingly powerful ones. A tiger, a dog, and a gorilla. Guan Hong recognized the tiger and dog. They were the guardian beasts of the nation. According to these 2 grandfathers, these mutant beasts were the underlings they had brought along. To be honest, if there were only a few dozen or 100, Guan Hong would have let them in. But with tens of thousands of beasts, he, the city-defending general, couldn't make such a decision. If they were all let in and something went wrong, he would have to kill himself and apologize. Fortunately, Dewang and Bei Lao He had been interacting with humans for so long, and they were fairly reasonable. They didn't charge in directly. So they waited for Lu Zhan to return. Roar, 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 roar. Tiger bro, this little human actually dares to stop us. Why don't we just kill our way in? Although Dewang and the others were reasonable, the mutant beasts behind them were very unhappy. In the minds of most mutant beasts, demons were the first enemy and humans were the second enemy. Awoo, awoo, awoo. That's right, great sage. This tiny city wall. I can kick it down with 1 foot. Meow, meow, meow. Black bro, people want to go in, don't want to wait outside. Roar, roar, roar. Tiger bro, it's not that we're not giving you face, but you brought us here, and are just letting us wait out here in the wilderness? Woof, woof, woof. Exactly, black bro, say something? We dogs were ordered around by humans in the past. It's time to turn the tables and become the masters. Seeing the increasing threat of a riot outside, the pressure on Guan Hong on the city wall increased, and he began to notify all combat personnel to be ready. At the crucial moment, roar, roar, roar. All of you shut the hell up. Dewang roared, a bolt of lightning striking a mutant beast directly. This one had been the loudest. Originally, Bei Lao He and Dashing had only recruited those powerful mutant beasts as underlings. But those mutant beasts had their own underlings. And those underlings had their own underlings. Unknowingly, they had brought over tens of thousands of mutant beasts, dragging their families along. Among them, there were many who were not convinced by Dewang and the other 2 big brothers. This time, Dewang wanted to kill the chicken to scare the monkeys, to teach these beasts what respect meant. With a boom, the mutant beast was instantly turned to ash, scattered in the wind. Woof, woof, woof. That's right. Anyone who's not convinced can get the hell out of here. At this moment, Bei Lao He also stood with Dewang on the same side, roaring. Beside them, Dasheng was even more straightforward, grabbing a clamoring mutant beast with one hand and crushing it on the spot. With the 3 big brothers getting angry, a large group of mutant beasts finally quieted down. Awoo, awoo, awoo. Everyone stay put obediently and wait for Lu Zhan, our good brother, to come back. Dashing punched the ground, almost causing an earthquake. On the city wall, Guanhong finally breathed a sigh of relief, constantly praying in his heart. Your Majesty, National Preceptor, General Liu, General Zhang, please come back quickly. This little brother can't hold on anymore. Suddenly, a streak of black light rushed towards them at an extremely fast speed. Guanhong's face changed drastically, and he shouted directly, "Enemy attack!" But before he could finish speaking, a figure had landed next to him, saying indifferently, "Quick reaction. What's your name?" Guanhong turned his head. The voice was unfamiliar, but the face was incredibly familiar. Or rather, the entire undead kingdom had memorized this face. It was their faith, their supreme god. Although Lu Zhan himself rarely appeared in front of the public, Lu Yong and Huang Shengren had portrayed his image as incomparably noble and great. In short, they were creating a god. And this god creation movement was quite successful. "Greetings, Your Highness, Human Emperor." Guanhong's voice trembled, his body trembling as well, as he knelt down directly. My name is Guanhong." The Human Emperor was actually talking to him. What an honor. "Okay, Guanhong, I remember. Get up," Lu Zhan said with a smile. Facing such a large army of mutant beasts pressing on the city, without running away, was already extremely commendable. "All right, you go down first. I'll handle this." "Yes, Your Highness, Human Emperor." With excitement in his heart, Guanhong jumped off the city wall. He wanted to go back and brag to his brothers. He had spoken to the Human Emperor alone. Chapter 176, The Final Moment. "You three, what's going on?" Lu Zhan snorted coldly, looking down. The terrifying aura swept towards the mutant beasts like a tidal wave. These three idiots, wouldn't they have tricked all the mutant beasts in the world into coming here? Who could afford to feed them all? Instantly, all the mutant beasts felt an aura of death, cowering on the ground, trembling. "Roar, roar, roar, Lu. Lu Zhan, good brother. These are all the underlings we recruited. Unknowingly, there are a little too many." "A woo, a woo, a woo. That's right, Lu Zhan, good brother. They all want to follow us. We can't refuse, right?" "Woof, woof, woof. It's all brought by these two idiots. None of my business." "Roar, roar, roar. Damn you, little dog. You brought the most, and they are all bitches." "A woo, a woo, a woo. That's right. Little dog, what are you planning?" "Lu Zhan, good brother. I suggest castrating this dog." Lu Zhan was in a daze. Those three beasts had started chirping the moment he saw them. "All of you shut up. Settle down by yourselves. The south of the city is unoccupied. From now on, that will be your mutant beast activity area. Also, do not enter human territory at will." It didn't matter when there were few mutant beasts, but with so many, if they were not properly managed, it would be easy to conflict with humans. He would simply separate the two. "Roar, roar, roar. Don't worry, good brother Lu Zhan. I guarantee I'll bring them under control." The three mutant beasts quickly promised. "All right, I'll throw all the demons' corpses to the south of the city. You can handle it yourself." Lu Zhan was in a daze. He simply didn't care about anything. "If something goes wrong, I'll punish you three." After speaking, he directly used the city lord authority to open the city gate. "Quiet down, get in a line. If anyone dares to make trouble, they will be killed directly." After dealing with the mutant beasts, Lu Zhan returned to the city lord's mansion, lying directly on the big bed. He hadn't rested well for days. Although his physique had become stronger, even if he didn't sleep, it wasn't a big deal. But mentally, he was inevitably tired. Soon, he fell directly into sleep. On the city wall, Huang Shengren and Lu Yong were also brought here to maintain order. It lasted for 4 or 5 hours. Finally, all the mutant beasts had entered the city, settling down in the south of the city. Then, before the two could rest, a sword light came from far and near, arriving at the city gate. "Haha, Brother Su, I didn't expect you to arrive so soon." Lu Yong laughed directly, saying, "The one who came was the Wuji sword Saint Sun Yin." When in the secret realm, everyone had already discussed that after leaving the secret realm, they would bring their families and come to this undead kingdom. As a swordsman, Sun Yin had always been alone. So after leaving the secret realm, he started his journey directly, so he was naturally very fast. "National Preceptor, Brother Lu, it's good to see you again so soon." Sun Yin glanced at the huge city. In his heart, he was quite shocked. He had naturally stayed in many cities after the apocalypse, but none could give him such a big shock. Come in first. Huang Shengren nodded, saying. After Sun Yin entered the city gate, Lu Yong said mysteriously, Come, Brother Su, let me show you something good. Absolutely something you can't see anywhere else. What Lu Yong wanted to show was naturally the teleportation array. It was imaginable how shocked this thing would bring to Sun Yin. As for Huang Shengren, he was still standing on the city wall. Next, there would likely be a steady stream of strong people arriving, the dignified national preceptor personally welcoming them. It would be quite an impressive spectacle. Those strong people couldn't help but feel flattered. Sure enough. Next, strong people constantly arrived, but these guys were dragging their families along, accompanied by various beauties. There was no other way. In the apocalypse, strong people would never lack beauties. Even if you didn't want it actively, there would be all kinds of beauties clinging to you. It was difficult for normal men to hold on. Like Lu Yong, being so single-minded about the priestess Xiao Yao was truly rare. For a whole day, all the strong people who had agreed in the secret realm had arrived, not missing a single one. Instead, there were many more. Now, it could be said that 80% of the strong people in the human race had gathered in the undead kingdom. At night, the entire undead city was brightly lit, a thriving scene, as if the apocalypse had passed and a new life had arrived. However, Huang Shengren knew clearly. This was only the calm before the storm. City Lord's mansion. When Lu Zhan woke up from the bed, a hot-bodied woman was sitting at the bedside, staring straight at him with beautiful eyes. Damn, you old man, you don't have some perverted hobby, do you? Lu Zhan's hair stood on end. He almost slashed at this monster with a face. Although the appearance had changed greatly, Lu Zhan recognized at a glance that this woman was Huang Shengren. Sure enough, with a bang, the woman directly turned back into the appearance of an old man with a white beard, smiling as he said, How boring. I even wanted to let you have a good time in the last moment. You old pervert, don't enter my room without my permission next time. Lu Zhan scolded and then frowned. The last moment, is it coming? Huang Shengren nodded. His expression was rarely somewhat solemn, saying, If I'm right, it's 12 o'clock tonight. How is it? Have you thought of a way to break the situation? Lu Zhan got up directly from the bed, looking indifferent, saying, What can I do? Fight. If I can't beat them, I'll just run. Haha, my speed is ridiculously fast now. There's also flash. I don't believe I can't run away. Huang Shengren glared, saying, If you run, what about all the humans in this city? Old Huang, you have to think more clearly. As long as I'm alive, there's still hope for the human race. If I die, the human race is really finished. Lu Zhan patted the other person's shoulder, saying, I really regret coming here to help you. Huang Shengren said angrily, disappearing directly into the room. Late night, 11:30. The entire undead city was still bustling with activity. The national preceptor personally ordered. Tonight would be set as the new big New Year's Eve for the human race. Everyone was not allowed to sleep. The truth was, if they could survive tonight, the human race would be able to start a new chapter. If they couldn't survive, then it would almost be over. Huang Shengren had selfish intentions in doing this. If he told these people in advance that there would be a catastrophe at 12 o'clock tonight, perhaps many people would run away in advance. But now, he wanted to forcibly tie these people to the chariot. They had to fight even if they didn't want to, for the future of the human race. Sacrifice was inevitable. The entire undead city ushered in the bell ringing of 12 o'clock in this happy and peaceful atmosphere. Just then, rumble. A loud thunderous sound suddenly rang out. Instantly, the sky seemed to be torn open. Countless demons rushed out of it. Chapter 177. The Myriad Races. Wow, what is that? The sky is breaking. Demons. So many demons. Wow, what's going on? Run, run. The apocalypse, the real apocalypse has arrived. That's a dragon. A giant dragon. Undead City. The previously festive atmosphere instantly turned into screams of terror. The scene in the sky was too horrifying, too shocking. Looking up, the entire sky was almost completely covered with demons, blotting out the sun. It was like a dark cloud pressing down on the entire undead city. making it hard to breathe. Humph, mere alien races, daring to act wildly above my human race. Just then, a cold snort suddenly rang out. Huang Shengren was naturally prepared for this. Standing on the roof of the city lord's mansion, he waved the staff in his hand, and various scenes appeared above the undead city. All the humans could see them. In the scenes, humans rode dragons, all kinds of demons and alien beasts bowing down to humans. Human powerhouses waved their hands, creating the heavens and the earth, and with a single sword strike, planets exploded. On the roof of the city lord's mansion, Zhan stood next to Huang Shengren, also watching these scenes, exactly the fragments that were presented when he came into contact with the world fragments. They were even clearer and more distinct than before. This Huang Shengren really had big secrets. However, looking at the demons filling the sky, it was impossible for Zhan not to be nervous. At this moment, the demons had not yet truly launched an attack, a special force keeping them in the air, eyeing the undead city covetously as if they were gathering. Because there were still more and more demons pouring out of the crack, and those powerful top-tier races had not yet arrived. Those emperor levels, those god levels. He didn't expect that those god-level existences would be so impatient, directly allowing the demon army to descend above the undead city. In his previous life, when the second phase opened, he remembered that these powerful demons appeared randomly all over the world. It seemed their desire to kill him was already extremely strong. They couldn't wait a moment longer. As the scenes were displayed one after another, Huang Shengren's imposing voice suddenly rang out. In ancient times, my human race was the overlord of the universe, dominating all things. What dogs hit dragons and phoenixes, they were nothing more than mounts for our human race. What gods, demons, immortals, they were nothing more than unworthy descendants of our human race. What demons, they all submitted under our human race's feet, begging for mercy. Do you know why these demons call our planet the ancestral star? The planet where the ancestors are located. Everyone, our human race is the master of this universe. These treacherous bastards want to deceive their ancestors. Let's fuck their mothers. Huang Shengren's voice was mixed with the power of magic. It was to rebuild human confidence, to ignite human passion. Without confidence, they would have already lost before even fighting. In the city, everyone looked at the scenes, listening to Huang Shengren's domineering declaration. Their blood boiled, and they clenched their fists. The human genes contained selfishness, self-interest, and a tendency to avoid danger. But there was also a pride. The pride of being human. Previously, when facing the incomparably powerful demons, this pride was replaced by fear. And now, Huang Shengren wanted to stimulate this pride and overcome fear. Old Huang, you could definitely make a lot of money if you ran a pyramid scheme. To be honest, even Zhan was somewhat fired up by the old man's words. Hee, do you think I'm trying to deceive them? Huang Shengren shook his head, saying solemnly, No, what I said is the truth, from the heart. Also, it's the fact. Zhan did not answer, but asked, They're not attacking, what are they waiting for? A gleam of light flashed in Huang Shengren's eyes. They are not waiting, they are wary. Wary of what? Death, wary of death. Huang Shengren's eyes sparkled. They are waiting, observing, to see if that undead monarch will take action. If the undead monarch takes action, it doesn't matter how many or how strong the demons are. In the face of the undead, all enemies are weapons. Zhan took a deep breath. It was indeed as Huang Shengren said. He, an undead mage, could constantly resurrect undead, turning them into weapons in his hands. The more enemies there were and the stronger they were, the more weapons he would have. If the undead monarch came in person, how terrible would that be? With a wave of his hand, billions of demons would all turn into undead? That was too insane. Those god-level existences certainly didn't want all their minions to turn into undead. This was probably the biggest reason for their wariness of the undead monarch. Then, would the undead monarch take action for him? See them? Those are the top 10 races among the myriad races. Huang Shengren pointed to the sky with his staff, saying, The dragon race, the demon race, the Yao race, the god race, the immortal race, the elf race, the heavenly phoenix race, the fate race, and the 5 elements race. Why are there only 9? What about the other one? Zhan asked curiously. Huang Shengren's eyes showed a rare hint of fear, saying, "The other one is the Azura race." Then he shook his head. "They are a bunch of lunatics. They shouldn't be coming this time. The myriad races wouldn't allow them to come either, otherwise everything will be in chaos." Azura? Lu Zhan murmured in his heart. Just the name itself gave off a chilling feeling. "What about the undead race? Aren't they in the top 10? Huang Shengren said directly. "The myriad races rank living beings. Naturally, they won't rank dead things." Above the sky, the 9 major races had all arrived, forming a circle that surrounded the entire undead city. And the other races naturally had to stand behind them. Silence. Unbelievable silence. These demons were like ghosts, staring straight at everyone in the city. The terrifying pressure almost made it impossible for people to breathe. The confidence that the humans in the city had just built up was about to collapse again. This was torture. Fortunately, the protective shield covering the city gave some sense of security. At this time, Huang Shengren, the master of encouragement, naturally had to step forward, shouting loudly, "See that? These demons don't even have the courage to attack. Ha ha ha, a bunch of useless things. Still want to stare us to death? Laugh me to death." After speaking, he secretly glanced at Lu Zhan. The meaning was very clear. "What were you standing there for? Curse with me. They are really useless. I don't know how many dragons I've already killed. And that Yao race, they're just a bunch of mutated fetuses, disgusting to death." Lu Zhan understood and shouted loudly, while constantly taking out the corpses of those top-tier demons. "See that? This is something from the 5 Elements race. Doesn't it look like dyed things? Too ugly. And this elf, I crushed it with one slap. What is that thing? It's too ugly. It's still staying in the air, polluting the sky." Lu Yong was also smart, immediately echoing, "Ah, that's right. It's so ugly that I can't stand it." Zhang Tianfu laughed loudly. "Look, the women of that god race are quite pretty. Capture them and hee. Elves hee. Elves? You pervert. Say no to young beauty. Start with you." Chapter 178. Huang Shengren's Tactics. "What demons are these? Aren't they just aliens? I've never fought aliens, but I've seen a lot. That's it. Avengers team. Assemble to fight aliens." "What Avengers? We are the demon hunting squad, hunting demons." Soon, the entire undead city was filled with human curses and ridicule. Sometimes, curses can not only strike the enemy's mental state, but also increase their own courage and morale. Huang Shengren was indeed a master at playing with people's hearts, instantly raising the originally low morale. In the south of the city, various beast roars also resounded, like ghosts crying and wolves howling. Previously, Lu Zhan had given them such a large pile of top-tier demon corpses. In a short period of time, several mutant beasts had evolved to extremely powerful states. They were only a little bit weaker than Dewang and the other two. Among them, a panda was especially terrifying, and it also ate the most. This guy had not awakened any abilities, but its body had been strengthened to an incredibly terrifying point. Dewang and Bei Lao Hei's lightning strikes were like tickling it, and its strength was also unbelievably strong. A punch would blast a small mountain into pieces. Lu Zhan naturally recognized such a terrifying guy. The number 1 ranked mutant beast, Gun Gun. That's right. This panda's name was Gun Gun. Such a cute name. But it was a terrifying alien beast that could swallow dragons alive. It was said that this guy once broke into Night Emperor's territory. Night Emperor was unable to do anything to it, and waited for nearly a month, until this mascot was bored and left on its own. Lu Zhan didn't expect that the 3 guys could trick this little thing into coming as well, and he directly ordered that it could eat all the demon corpses. Me. Tiger brother. So many delicious things. Gun Gun wants to eat. Roar, roar, roar. Eat. Eat them all later. Woof, 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 Gun Gun. Don't worry, Uncle Wolf will catch you a dragon to eat later. A woo, Gun Gun. Don't listen to this little dog's nonsense. Dragons are not tasty. The meat is very rough. Elves are delicious. One bite and they crunch. On the roof, Huang Shengren's face was flushed, looking passionate, but secretly anxiously asked Lu Zhan, "How is it? Is the undead monarch behind you going to take action? Is there any word?" As the saying goes, morale. gathers at the first drum, weakens at the second, and dissipates at the third. If this continues to stalemate, human morale would probably fall again soon. It would be better to just start fighting. But at this moment, they could only wait for the demons to attack first. It was obviously unrealistic to have humans rush out of the city. Everything seemed to depend on the movement of that undead monarch to decide. How would I know? Zhan said speechlessly. He had just asked the undead priest with his consciousness. The priest completely ignored him, still busy conducting the ritual at the altar. Fortunately, those top-tier races in the sky didn't seem to want to just wait foolishly, and strong people kept speaking. We do not wish to destroy the human race. Zhan is an undead messenger and should not exist in the world of the living. Zhan, if you take your own life, you can protect the human race. Humans, as long as you hand over Zhan, the myriad races can coexist with the human race. That's right. My god race swears that as long as Zhan dies, we will never attack the human race. The demon race agrees. The elf race agrees. The dragon race agrees. The voices of the myriad races filled the sky and soon suppressed the human curses. They even made many people start to hesitate. As long as Zhan died, the human race could be peaceful. This deal seemed pretty cost-effective. On the roof, a trace of sadness appeared in Zhan's eyes. As expected, the same scene seemed to be playing out again. Nothing had changed, and it wouldn't change. But at this moment, Huang Shengren's figure was like the Dharma body, rapidly enlarging, instantly turning into a giant several meters tall. Then he suddenly opened his mouth. The sound was so loud that it shook the heavens and earth. Bullshit. Zhan is the emperor of my human race. If the human emperor dies, then the spirit of my human race is dead. The soul is destroyed. If the spirit is dead, even if our human race is still alive in the flesh, what difference is there from walking corpses? My human race has never feared heaven or earth. Why would we be afraid of you ugly bastards? You scheming bastards, you are trying to divide my human race. What are your intentions? You still want us to be traitors to the human race. Dream on. You still swear your mothers swear. If you have the ability, make a divine oath. I'm asking you if you dare. The giant Huang Shengren with a white beard pointed at the myriad races and scolded them, with the momentum of arguing with the heroes. That's right, if the human emperor is dead, what meaning is there for us to be alive? If you want to fight, then fight. If you are scared, then get the hell out of here. Don't get in the way. Haha, you still want to ask my brother Liu to commit suicide? You must be dreaming. At this time, Liu Yong and the others were like professional hype men. As soon as Huang Shengren opened his mouth, they would immediately follow to boost the atmosphere. And at this time, Huang Shengren and Liu Yong's God creation movement had finally worked. Zhan's title as human emperor was already an undeniable fact. His image had been deeply rooted in people's hearts. Betraying Zhan was betraying the human race. But even so, there were still extremely afraid of death people, weakly saying, "Boo, but shouldn't the human emperor protect us? Right now, as long as he dies, he will be protecting us." However, before he could finish speaking, a sword had already slashed through his throat. A person retracted the sword, glaring at his corpse, cursing, "My human race cannot allow traitors like you to exist." His emotional excitement made the surrounding people indignant, condemning the corpse on the ground. At this time, throughout the undead city, similar things happened in many places. Hundreds of people were killed without mercy just because they made some suggestions. And these people were arranged by Huang Shengren. What kind of methods did this old man have? He had already silently placed many of his cronies in the city crowd. Apart from Huang Shengren himself, no one knew of the existence of these people, including Zhan, and even these people themselves did not know of each other's existence. Their strength was extremely strong, at least far beyond the human average, and their only task was to erase any discordant voices in the crowd. If Zhan, Liu Yong, and others directly took action, in the eyes of others, it would inevitably be somewhat dictatorial and even cause resentment. But if ordinary people from the crowd took action, then it would easily resonate with others. Because he came from ordinary people, representing the human race. Chapter 179. The Battle. If you ask me, we should just wipe out the human race. In the sky, a demon emperor, covered in black flames, spoke. Agreed. Then let your demon race take the lead. A Yao race, demon/monster race, powerhouse spoke. Yao dragon, you are courting death. The black flames on the demon emperor's body immediately intensified. The Yao dragon, who was originally in human form, instantly transformed into a giant dragon, unafraid. Demon race, all you are a bunch of brainless fools. Hee, fight, fight, hurry up and fight. On the side, a small girl flew in the air, clapping her hands, not minding the excitement. It was the elven race powerhouse. Don't be fooled by her cute and harmless appearance. When she takes action, it will be earth-shattering. God says, what's with all the noise? Be quiet. Or should we just fight each other first? Hemph. The myriad races have a full 20-odd god-level existences. Are you really afraid of just one undead monarch? I don't know what you are wary of. At this moment, the leading powerhouses among the myriad races were all emperor-level existences, and above the emperor level was the god level. The god level was the top powerhouse standing at the tip of the pyramid of the entire universe. Out of the myriad races with countless trillions of members, there were only 20-odd existences who broke through to the god level. Only a race with god-level existences had the qualifications to be called a powerful race. Such existences naturally wouldn't show their faces easily, at least not before the undead monarch showed himself. However, continuing this stalemate was really not a solution. In the sky, a voice finally rang out, not knowing where it came from, yet seeming to be everywhere, demonic aura soaring. Undead monarch, what are your intentions? Hearing this voice, Huang Shengren was directly unable to maintain his giant form, instantly returning to normal size, and said with a pale face, a god-level existence. At the same time, everyone in the city was as if they had suffered a mental trauma. Their faces turned pale, and the weaker ones even spat out blood. Just the voice was so terrifying. God-level existences, how could they fight? Only a glint of light flashed in Lu Zhan's eyes. He had heard this voice and would never forget it. One day, he would step the owner of this voice under his feet, the Demon Lord. After a moment, another voice rang out. Many humans who heard this voice actually seemed to have been given a super buff. Not only did all their injuries recover, but their strength also increased a lot. They were the worshippers of death, and the voice came from the undead monarch. Myriad races, those above the commander level, cannot take action, and this seat will not take action. This deathly voice was without the slightest ripple, like a robot. Hearing these words, Huang Shengren instantly looked at Lu Zhan, a strange glint flashing in his eyes. Good heavens! The dignified undead monarch actually took action for this kid. This guy has such great face. Could he be the undead monarch's illegitimate son? This was not Huang Shengren's random guess. You had to know that the undead monarch was also a human in his previous life. Humph, death, interfering in the affairs of the living world. Do you really think we are afraid of you? Not afraid, you can try, you should know, in this world, no one can kill this seat. After a silence, the god level of the myriad races seemed to compromise and said, Death, I hope you can abide by your oath. A mere human race, even if those above the commander level could not take action. So what? Without even needing commanders, just the warrior level would be enough to wipe out all these humans. This was the confidence of the myriad races. Those who entered this world in the first phase were just some second-rate weaklings. The real demon army was terrifyingly strong. These words were like a signal to launch an attack. In an instant, a large number of demons fell from the sky, landed on the ground, and then launched an attack directly towards the City of Death. In the air, an elite-level dragon directly crashed into the protective shield. With a boom, the entire protective shield shook. Fortunately, the quality of the protective shield was quite reliable, and it could not be broken for the time being. The great battle instantly erupted. Everyone, pick up your weapons. These ugly bastards want to destroy our home, want to wipe out our human race. Can we agree to this? We have already experienced an apocalypse once. They have already destroyed our beautiful life once. And now, we have finally rebuilt our home, have new lovers, have new partners, and they actually want to destroy our lives again. I will never agree to this. Grass mud horse, go to hell with you demons. I will defend my home even if I die. For the human race, fight to the death. Huang Shengren roared like a madman. With a wave of his staff, a virtual dragon flew out of his staff directly and crashed towards the real dragon. At the same time, all the defense towers of the entire city began to activate. All kinds of energy attacks were fully powered, bombarding the charging demons. Boom, 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 boom. Most of the demons charging in front were trash mobs like goblins. With one cannon shot, countless were killed or injured. In the air, Huang Shengren's magic bombardment hit the giant dragon, directly causing it to spill a lot of dragon blood. Bullshit demons, that's all there is to it. I will kill you all. Huang Shengren's last roar completely integrated the power of the demonic sound, completely igniting the human race's full fighting spirit. For the human race, fight to the death. For the human race, fight to the death. For the human race, fight to the death. At this moment, even the weak and cowardly people were inevitably infected by this passion, and their shouts broke through the clouds. Fuck his mother. Lu Yong raised his giant sword, roared, and charged out of the protective shield directly, killing into the demon herd. Likewise, a large number of melee attackers took the initiative to attack, and those ranged professions, led by Huang Shengren, constantly bombarded those demons in the air. Roar, roar, roar. Brothers, let's start eating. All of you charge with me. De Wong roared, and had already turned into a bolt of lightning, rushing into the sky. Woof, woof, woof. Buffet, a buffet. So many delicious things. A woo, a woo, a woo. Little ones, keep up. See how much you can eat. Me, 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 me. Gun Gun wants to eat. Eat, eat, eat. Tens of thousands of mutant beasts attacked at the same time. Those that could fly rushed into the sky. Those that could not fly rushed out of the protective shield. They were more crazy and fearless than humans. At this moment, humans and mutant beasts were in the same camp, the masters of this world. And at this time, the effect of the city-building order was vividly displayed. The attack of the defense tower was extremely high. Each attack could blow up a large number of demons, slowing down the other side's attack rhythm. The protective shield blocked all the demons outside. Without these, if the demons charged directly into the city, the humans would probably collapse quickly. Chapter 180. Top 100 Geniuses. On the roof, Lu Zhan was also a human. No matter how cold-blooded and indifferent he was, he could not help but be agitated by this passion. This old man Huang Shengren really had great methods. For the human race, fight to the death. He didn't expect that the undead monarch would actually take action. If those above the commander level could not take action, then there might really be hope for this battle. In that case, then let's fight. Lu Zhan thought. One had already disappeared into the undead space, secretly killing into the demon army. In this battle, one would be the key factor in determining the outcome. If they could fight for 3 days and 3 nights, even if an emperor level came in person, so what? He would still kill them without hesitation. Immediately after, Lu Zhan summoned all the demon undead and charged into the sky. Compared to the ground attack, those aerial attacks were the most dangerous. After all, the demons that could fly were relatively strong. The protective shield was bound to be broken, but now the most important thing was to make the breaking time come later. As long as they could defend for a little longer, this battle could last longer. And he himself took out the blood lament and also rushed out of the protective shield, killing into the demon herd. And he directly killed into the depths of the demon herd. He wanted to do one thing: directly complete his job advancement in this battle. Dozens of warrior-level demon undead charged into the sky. The terrifying aura of death was overwhelming. An ordinary dragon didn't even have time to react before being grabbed by an undead and torn in half. In the sky, the emperor level of the dragon race saw this scene. Their giant dragon eyes were full of anger, but they couldn't vent it. The rules set by the god level, those above the commander level could not take action. They naturally did not dare to break them. Therefore, they could only vent their anger on the demon race. Humph, Tali, look at what good things your demon race has done. Tali was the emperor-level demon. Seeing this scene, he was also extremely displeased. The dignified demon race was actually resurrected into undead and used as tools. This was an insult to the demon race. Tasha, go deal with it. Let them return to the demonic soil to rest in peace. As soon as the voice fell, a powerful demon had already rushed out directly. It was the warrior-level demon Tali. Although both were warrior-level, Tali's strength was much stronger than Hellion. He was a top genius who ranked 23rd on the Myriad Race's Heavenly Pride list. Tali's weapon was a giant sword, and with one wave of the sword, the powerful demonic energy turned into sword energy and blasted towards an undead. With a boom, the sword energy directly bombarded a demon undead. The physical constitution of the demon undead was very strong, and it seemed that it had not suffered any damage, but this demonic energy had an extremely terrifying corrosive effect. The body of the demon undead was constantly being corroded. Even if the undead had the special attribute of self-repair, it couldn't repair it. But Tali was a little dissatisfied. In his vision, he should have killed this undead with one sword. But he didn't expect that the strength of this undead was somewhat beyond his imagination. This also aroused his arrogance. A warrior-level undead. No matter how strong could it be? Tali rushed straight over. With the increase of demonic energy, the speed was much stronger than these demon undead, and beat the demon undead without any power to fight back. In less than a minute, the demon undead had been cut down and returned to eternity. I have to say, Zhan was really a little underestimated the talented powerhouses of the myriad races. However, when Tali wanted to go and kill another undead, a giant axe smashed down on him. Tali's face changed slightly, barely dodging this attack. What terrifying power, what fast speed. This, a warrior-level undead. How could it be so strong? It's you, Hellion. Trash, you dare to attack me. The one who came was Hellion's undead, a demon general. Hellion, he was just ranked over 3,000 on the Heavenly Pride list, and he ranked 23rd. The difference between the two sides before death was like one in the sky and one on the ground. And now, the undead Hellion was so strong? Tali was completely enraged. On the ground, Zhan frowned slightly. With his current strength, the death of a few undead didn't really have too much of an impact on his attributes, but he could still sense it. He didn't expect that the demon undead would be killed so soon. However, he had no time to consider those. His only goal right now was to kill the commander level. Zhan was like a cheetah charging into a flock of sheep, directly ignoring the large number of demons around him. His speed was extremely fast. The demons below the commander level could not even touch a hair of his. Even those demons would explode directly when touched by his body. Without even having to do anything, just flying at full speed, Zhan had already killed hundreds of demons along the way. He was searching for commander-level demons with all his strength. Soon, he found one, and it was an acquaintance. The Goblin General. Goblins were purely cannon fodder in the myriad races. Not to mention this Goblin General, even if the Goblin Emperor came, they had to honestly charge for the myriad races. Zhan said nothing and stabbed the Goblin General directly with a sword. As a result, there was a ding sound. His sword was actually blocked by the other party's broadsword. The current Zhan, a breath would probably blow a Goblin warrior to death. But the commander level was a qualitative change after all. This Goblin General still had some strength. But that was all. Zhan suddenly exerted strength. The blood lament instantly burst out with a burst of sword chi, with a boom sound, directly splitting on the other party's body. The Goblin General screamed, green blood gushing out. The next second, Zhan sent him to the west with another sword. Then, resurrection. He directly sacrificed this commander level. The target of the sacrifice was not a powerful undead like the demon, but an ordinary goblin undead in the undead space. The job advancement required 3 commander-level undead. If you wanted to make the undead of the demon that level break through to the commander level, it would be as difficult as ascending to heaven, not knowing how many undead would have to be sacrificed. But it was simple to do with trash-like goblins. Anyway, the mission didn't require the commander level to be strong. As expected, after sacrificing this Goblin General, the goblin actually crossed 2 levels and evolved into a warrior level. Then continue. Although the goblins were very weak, it had to be said that there were really many of them, as dense as locusts. With so many numbers, there was naturally more than one Goblin General, and Zhan quickly found the second one. Imitating the first, killing, resurrecting, and sacrificing in one go. In the space, the Goblin Undead was a little stronger again, but it still had not evolved into a commander. It seemed that it was really not easy to reach the commander level, but there was no need to fear. There were at least hundreds of commander-level demons in this land. There was no need to fear that there would not be enough sacrifices. In the air, those emperor-level powerhouses had naturally discovered Lu Zhan's figure. Liang Feng, go, kill him. Willis, you go too. Fireflow, kill him. Whoever can kill Lu Zhan will receive a large reward. For a time, more than a dozen powerhouses of the myriad races killed towards Lu Zhan. Although they were only warrior level, they were all top geniuses who ranked in the top 100 of the Heavenly Pride list.